feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose that fits, I'm losing shit. A stupid myth, you choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
Yeah. There's no mercy in this world, just hunger-thirsty persons in different versions. Each new update, that shit worsens. Why? Pull back the curtain and you'll see the different vermin. We all have different burdens that all seem to cause disturbance. Yo, do me a favor, don't treat me like a neighbor. Don't need the different flavors of your problems just to savor. I've got my own issues, I need a comb to get through. Don't need to groan with you, just go get your own tissue.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Yeah, boy, we back. Yes,
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So listen, I think I sent Coach Ferg. Did I send Coach Ferg? Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you sent it.
Yeah. So anyway, man, back to this discussion, man. I wanted to ask you, what do you see? This for you, Lost, and JT when he comes up. What do you see the men looking like in the next 20 years? Black men. What does it look like in 20? Give me in 20.
It really depends on whether or not we decide to make a change today. Because it takes about 10 years for the first 10% to move. That's called the first mover advantage. And usually by the time you reach 10%, that's when the critical mass kicks in. And then after that, everything else goes another 10, 20 years after that. And, it's back to normal. But the thing about it is we got to get men to see the advantages of being men again, And in order to do that, we got to take our image back. Kevin used to talk about that all the time, man. Take your image back.
When do we lose it?
Somebody else write your story, man.
When do we lose it?
You know what? If I had to guess... it was somewhere near the 90s, man. That was when we used to wear Coogee sweaters, and then after that, it was
come on now,
caps and and backwards jerseys and stuff like that, So if I had to guess, it had to be around that time, because now guys don't even want to wear suits anymore. They gave Kevin a hard time about wearing damn suits. You don't need to wear no damn suit and all this other stuff.
Yeah, even at church, at church, yeah.
Think about it. When we came up, man, we used to have to go down to the suit factory. You know what I'm saying? Get your pants hemmed up, because we were kind of tall back then, so they had to let the hem out. You know what I'm saying? And then when you grow, you have to let them out some more. You know what I'm saying? That type of thing. Remember that? Remember back in the day?
Yeah.
Shoot, man. You used to have the coat. They used to have to sew your coat a certain way, so when your arms get longer, they can let it out. You know what I mean? That type of thing. You had to get your shoes, shine your shoes up. That was a part of being a man. Making sure your suit was good, you iron your shirt, you shine your shoes, make sure you had your socks, your cologne. If you had cufflinks, make sure you had that, your tie bar, your perfect tie. Put your whole suit together. Now guys don't take pride in it. It's just like, is it wrinkle free?
Yeah.
Hey, man, Trey Ferguson tell you, man, we used to put a whole crease in some jeans, but back in the day, them jeans used to stand up on their own. Remember that, Trey Ferg? Man, we had the penny loafers and all of that stuff, man.
Yes, everybody's super comfortable now, man. Because
it's like everybody wearing jogging suits now.
But again, Lost, listening to you, man, I can understand what you come from, and when boys, men come from fathers
Right.
led homes. If your father, and I'm not, you know what I'm saying, I'm just saying, I could be off. My father was a factory man. He worked for Louisville Slugger till he retired. He did shit that he invented. If you go to Louisville Slugger today, there's machines that he invented and helped do. I found all this shit out after he passed. He didn't tell me none of this, right?
Right.
But when I used to look in his closet at his clothes, they were like, the shirts were lined up nice, the slacks, the suits. You had a little tie, little section, few pair of shoes. And I took that and put it in my little closet and applied it. And now all of it, and then when I joined the military, put that on top, coming out of, like Law said, using a half a bottle of starch on your jeans.
Right.
All your jeans now got a permanent crease in them, even
Stay
after
flow?
you wash
Stay
them.
flow?
Huh?
You use Stay Flow?
I don't know. It was the
What y'all use? What y'all
flawless.
used to start y'all?
We
The
use
flawless.
Flawless.
I just
We
use
use
flawless. Yeah, that
Yeah,
stuff.
I became,
Oh, okay.
you was making his with water.
Yeah,
Remember that?
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Water.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh
Yeah.
no, it was already you know what I'm saying. But again, even in taking care of our shoes, our little sneakers, and you know what I'm saying, just ironing your shirts, making sure everything, your creases were lined up tight. I remember when guys did take pride in that. Again, I go to my favorite area because once I start working into it and start seeing how they took the prison saggy look and brought it to the streets, it's been a bummy look. A lot of guys, even, you know, it's unfortunate because I feel like, I believe, and again, I believe most men, when you turn 30, 35, you got to pull your pants up. You got to wear a belt. You got to sort of take pride in that. But now people just acquiesce to and then they always say they ain't had no home training. That's the shit that killed me. But as a person, you have to sort of gauge that for yourself because sometimes you block your blessings when you don't value yourself as a man and take care of yourself as a man. Because you can't handle the pressure that the Most High put on you if you're not dressed in your armor. So, you know what I'm saying? Confidence and clothing go together to me. You know, so I don't know. I love going to work in my little shirts. And they used to say I had on my church clothes every day. That's how I work with young people. I ain't show up in jeans except on Friday. You know what I'm saying? Nice little soft walkers, but everything was coordinated. I had all the colors. I just didn't like red.
Yeah, Friday was casual day.
Yeah.
You know, we expect that.
Now, I'm actually just name one pastor that's out there right now that wears a suit.
Geno Jennings, and that's it.
That's
Yeah.
it.
That's about
Everybody
it.
else, hoodies, Letterman jackets, jeans, Jordans.
And dresses.
Yeah,
And
but
dresses.
and that's the sad thing about it because I would think someone in that position would speak to the younger men coming up that they should stand, you know, just giving homage to those before us. You know, I look back at old pictures of people in the 20s and 30s, man, they wore a suit everywhere they went. We got way more freedoms, you know. That might have been the only outfit they had was a suit. And we got 42 outfits. And to not take pride in that, it goes a long way on how you think. And I shut up when I see grown men sort of always in a casual, I'm very reluctant to think about doing some type of business with that person. That's just me. That's just me. I mean, you know.
Yeah. Trey, I remember back in the day, man, we used to go to church on Easter. And you already
Yes.
knew that was when you're gonna get your Easter suit, and it was gonna
Easter suit.
it's gonna be the brand new suit. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Shoot, man, you used to look forward to Easter. Man, I get to get me a new suit. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
And your
Shoot.
mama would go buy that motherfucker. You're like, yeah. I got plenty of Easter suit with the stacks. See, I'm young enough to wear the stacks. That was my first pair of dress shoes. BMU, you don't know what stacks are. Yeah, it's like a high heel dress shoe. You had to go look at some 70s. Yeah, it was clean back in the day. Look at some old boots and
You
collars.
know what I'm saying?
You know, but that was the style.
So y'all wore halter tops and shit too?
No, man. I'm talking about the
What you
dress
talking about?
shoes, man. Nobody. We ain't even like to play shirts and
man. He
ski.
talking about some halter tops.
I think I seen JT in a halter one time on a picture.
Oh my God.
Not at all.
Huh?
Don't play with me.
Oh shit! But I seen the Isley Brothers with the halters on.
That was a musician that did fools
Yeah.
like that. You see some of the stuff Rick James had on, man.
Man, Rick James had on a lot of man.
Prince had on a full bone blouse. You know what I'm saying?
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, JT.
Okay. My mic was off.
Prince had his ass out on stage. So
No, Prince actually dressed dope as fuck, man. After he got out of that rock star shit, but even because him and Rick James dressed similar at the beginning, but
all wild and shit.
yeah. But the platforms which you was talking about, Coach Ferg,
yeah.
it was funny, man, because
You had some, JT?
I had some very small ones.
Okay. With the baby heel.
I was the only.
Look
I
guppies in the
understand. I was
heel,
my
you know what I'm
father's
saying?
first. I was my father's first child, so he was trying to dress me like him.
Yeah, grown man style.
Now the thing is, what you guys were talking about, like with the suits and things like that. That was a part of being able to craft ourselves as a man when it comes down to presenting ourselves, right? That
Personal
suit,
style.
man. Listen, we should never get away from the suit. We should never get away from it. Do you understand how many grown men that can't even tie a Winston knot?
Oh yeah.
How many men that don't even know how to tie a tie? Period. Just a regular.
Man, you asking for it?
Hello.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but when we're talking about that, that's what I was saying earlier. Look at how we craft ourselves when it comes down to our mustache and our beard and things like that. It shows that we have a discipline, right? That's why in the military, when you're sharp, people respect you. Like it didn't have anything to do with how tall or how big and how wide you were. It was how squared away you were. I'm telling you, it was some men that used to be, first getting in, man, they were intimidating, bro. You see a sergeant major, you see a general, a first-star general come in there, and how squared away they were. That shit it intimidates you. You be like, how the fuck they get their shit like that?
Just bouncing all nice on them.
Oh,
like,
man.
Oh, you looking at yourself like, oh, my shit look good.
Yeah.
Like,
man, I mastered the art of looking squared away. I'm talking about even when I was deployed, when I was in the field, it wasn't as shiny as it would be in garrison. But I'm telling you right now, when motherfuckers, that was one thing with people, and I learned not to be a person that talked a whole lot around people that I didn't know, right? Especially when I got into when you get into a position where everybody is looking for you to be a leader, right? If you saying some dumbass shit and you a sergeant, staff sergeant, first class, you're not gonna get no respect from them guys. It ain't gonna happen. Everything that you say has to have some type of meaning behind it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it showed us, that lifestyle actually showed us how when you are away from the people, right? This is how you present yourself. Because they always say you're a soldier 24/7. So if you in the stores and shit like that and you acting crazy, or you got a wife that's acting out of pocket, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like a religion. You know what I'm saying? It's just a way that you show a discipline from the way you dress, from the way you talk, the way that you can solve problems. It was just a dope thing just to see that. And what we ended up doing was we seen what authority looks like. We respected it, but we also commanded it, right? When you respect it, you're definitely going to command, because you inspired to be that. But you have to understand what it takes to have that type of, you know what I'm saying, that commodity, and people would just gravitate to it. That's how we learn as men. There's no way, from earlier on the other show when Black Man was talking about it, there's no way that we can even it shouldn't even be a conversation with women about equality and all this crazy ass bullshit. That's dumb to me, man. It's dumb. Because protection, understand what it is. It's you protect people from themselves. It's not that you got the gift of gab and you can sit back and you can con people. That's not leadership. That's not leadership. It's a skill, but it's not a skill that's, that men need to have. Being straightforward. That's all we need, to be straightforward. That's why, like, when I hear a Charleston White, it doesn't even, nothing he says trigger me. You know what I'm saying? I just be looking like, all right, he doing some work that I don't present it that way, right? None of you guys present it that way, but I listen to what he have to say and I be like, I get what he doing, right? We as men, all of us do the same thing. We will be in alignment with a movement or a message, but we have a different way on how we present it, right? Right. All of us have and we respect each other's way on how we present it. That's how it goes. That's why black folks, man, we just some dope ass people. I ain't gonna even lie to you, bro. That's why it's so. If we say that about ourselves and then we say, look, we're better than that, and we say the things that we say on this platform and other things, it should be respected. But we got a lot of people that like to ride the fence. They like to be lukewarm. That's why it's so complicated for a lot of people. That's why when I hear certain things, and we talked about a lot of different issues and things that goes on in the world, you would never hear me say, man, that's a hard one right there. Pause. That's hard for me to be, I don't know what to do and I got to bounce. No, I already bounced it. You know what I'm saying? And that's not me. I have not been that person all my life. I evolved. That's why you can hear me, you can hear, Coach Ferg, Loss, BMU. We all will talk about the younger us, right? We can have a conversation and we just go back in the conversation we have. It could be about anything. And we'll put ourselves back there and we have that conversation, right? We ain't sitting back saying we holier than thou. I think that's why a lot of people, they're having a problem, right, with this platform and platforms like this. At the end of the day, and I told people this before, if you're trying to get all the men to conform, you're going to have a fucking problem. It ain't never been in history where men just conformed. It gets to a point where somebody say enough is enough. I wage war. That's just basically how we look at things, right? And the older we get, the worse it gets for us. That's why you tell them, when you hear people talk about old folks, the older they get, the more honest they are, ain't they? Yeah, it get to a point where they don't care shit about nobody's feelings. They'll tell you all kind of crazy ass shit. The only thing you can do is just listen to it. But look at how the world is now. They just had another story where, all these goddamn people jumping on a goddamn elderly lady because of what she was saying. What are we doing?
The most?
The fucking most. Absolutely. But we getting older, y'all. This shit is going fast too. And at the end of the day, I'm going to tell you right now, the older we get, the less we are in tune with that bullshit that's going on.
That's why man, JT, what the problem is, a lot of channels are reaction channels. We're action channels. Mm-hmm. I was telling Black Man of Filth the other day, I said, man, you realize we usually be about 2-3 weeks ahead of everybody else. They'd be like, man, did you see what happened? Man, we talked about that 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, we already talked about that
problem and moved on to something else. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I think that's the difference. It's hard for people to appreciate wisdom, when it's on display. versus somebody reacting to something after the fact. I mean, anybody can do that after the fact, but can you do that beforehand? Do you have foresight? You see what I'm saying? And people have a hard time with that. Welcome to the stage. Our pain in the building. What's happening, man?
What's up, Boomer? That's a damn boomer over there. Is that a damn boomer?
Yeah, man.
That's a goddamn boomer right there. We don't see them a lot. That's an antique right there in the corner pocket.
So get into some nice, soft, pillowy piece of ass. But I don't.
That's right. Tell them our pain.
Yeah, back when they used to be pillowy, man. You know?
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
Our pain said now it's all hard.
Whoa. You gotta stop this. Y'all wow. This is
It's Friday, man.
We gotta have a show called Porch Free Friday and shit.
Hey, our pain. Now this is the craziest part though. See, we could talk shit about you being old and shit, right? We could talk shit about you, but damn that. Cause you right here, I ain't that damn much younger than you. But this goddamn BMU, he all young and shit. He got Similac on his breath. I forgot how young this cat is right here. BMU. I was like, damn.
Alexis from Texas.
I could have been your daddy.
Swallowed up. Have you ever been swallowed
up? Have you ever been swallowed? Alexis, what's going on, girly girl?
Hey, man, the question y'all asked, though, man, still y'all haven't answered it, man. In 10 years, man, I think that we're going to see, like we already seen, there's going to be a split. There's going to be a major split, a visible split for Black men in the Black community. That's what I think. We already know where the women stand. And I think the good thing is at least 92% of them are becoming the same, the 92% of women. And I think the way you think ideologically is where you stand. We don't have enough conservative Black men speaking, but they're starting to show up. And they're not the guys you can laugh at, like the Herschel Walkers, you know, and all that kind of stuff. There's some real guys talking some serious shit, and they're really conservative, not in a religious sense, but in an ideological sense of how you think they think you should live. You know, so I think we'll start seeing a separation that way, because that's the only way that whatever they say about 2053. It ain't gonna be the regular fucking cats who are afraid to say hello to women, can't hold a relationship, don't even have a girlfriend. I mean, the guys who complain today are different, right? I mean, different. I think they're still trying to put women in this square, square women in a round hole. And I think it's time for that to stop. It's draining, it's sapping the Black community. It's sapping Black men. It's just time to keep moving. It's time to just move on. And I think in that movement, you'll start to find people and to build families with and all that kind of stuff. If you have the belief that if you're on your square, women will show up and follow you. Because the truth of the matter is women always want to be in men's spaces. And if men are doing something in the space that they don't know about, they're coming to find out. They always do. We don't have no peace. Women are all in our spaces. And the opposite is not true, because men don't necessarily want to be in women's spaces from the standpoint of where their sanctuaries are. We don't, what I'm saying?
If he want to be in these spaces, then we already know where he going.
Yeah, so, but they definitely want to be announced. They want to know what we're talking about. They want to know what we're saying. Yeah. And that's why a lot of men, if you're like in a frat or you're in some kind of club where it's just men, that's not because you don't want women around, because when women are in the presence of men, they change the fucking conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's sometimes you want to be able to say, feel, and do what you have to say, because men know how to take that. You put a woman in there, you're going to defer to them. Out
Well,
of,
it depends on how I feel or pain.
yeah, you know, and I mean, sometimes it's okay, right? But you got to be in the mood for that. Like, I used to go to lunch. We had a whole group of guys went to lunch, and every so often I had to tell the fellas, "How about it just us, man? So we can go around the table and just talk the shit we want to shit." I want the honeys there. I said, well, next time we go, maybe tomorrow we go to lunch, we invite the girls, and we have a different kind of conversation.
Yeah.
Because
you can't have the same conversation with them guys.
I don't know.
Nope.
And so that's why when women started to come in the workforce, it changed the way the workforce was, right? Before they was, men would have the pictures and shit up, and you were cursing and all that kind of shit around. The joke, there was no improper joke.
Right. You can smoke a cigarette anywhere.
Yeah, man, that's all.
Yeah, you put a calendar on your desk, you know what I'm saying? Miss
Yeah,
you
know
what I'm saying?
So I mean, that's not necessarily that's a bad thing. The difference between men and women was so evident, right? And people understood it was natural. Okay, so and then women and the feminism start to try to chip away at that, and they've been very effective. Yeah. Matter of fact, they've been more than effective. They actually destroyed the fucking way we live.
It crumbled.
Right. Yep. So anyway, man, that's what I'm saying. So 10 years from now, the separation is either going to be huge, so huge that's going to be self-evident. Here's the kind of men who are moving in a direction where they got their shit together and they're very judicious on who they want to share that with. And you'll still have some men who think they can't live without woman X telling them what to do.
Yeah, I did say that there was going to be a separation, right? Like we're seeing it now, but it goes to what you was just saying, and it's going to be like the cans and the cannots. Like it's going to be a clear, definitive separation. You can see it now. Because when we're talking about this era and this generation that's coming up right now, yeah, there's a group of them, man, they just don't know shit, right? But there's another group, they moving. Like they're really shaking and moving, man. And it's kind of like, this is going to be interesting if we get a chance to see how this actually happens, right? Because there's some young folks, man, that's very, they're on point. But there's another group, man, where they're so opposite. I'm talking about, remember when I did a show, and I did a show on the Gen Zs, and they couldn't even tell you where they lived. They didn't know how many states it was. They couldn't tell you what 3 times 3 times 3 was. They couldn't tell you just basic shit. Like it's something where I even had to look at it. Like when I look at my daughter, I went to Louisiana and stuff like that. And my daughter, she graduated already. And them goddamn kids, man, it's some smart ones. But Doug, I seen a bunch of dumb ass fucking kids, bro. I know dumb as shit.
Before you go too far out, it's not necessarily that they're dumb, right? It's more like lost. Okay, I was on Ham's show. Mm-hmm. 2 young brothers, you probably know them. Or at least one of them, UT was up there. You know UT.
Yeah, I know UT. Yep.
So UT up there. I mean, he's a dark-skinned brother, man. That kind of guy. Probably. I asked him and another brother who just kept talking these talking points, red pill talking points. I said, do either one of you fucking guys have a girlfriend? Because all they did was talking about women, right? And because they said, all the women are fucked up. I said, you mean all of them? He said, well, blah, blah, blah. And then I said, all of them? They wouldn't answer the goddamn question. I said, do you have a girlfriend? Because if you have a lady, I said, are y'all going to sit here and tell me that y'all don't have one lady who likes you, who likes you who you are right now in 2025? Neither one of them answered my question, because I think they knew where I was going. Because if that was true, and a woman likes you, and you liked her back, then what's your fucking problem?
What's your fucking problem? Yes.
You know, that's why I asked. I'm trying to say that. I said, "What's your problem?" I said, "Who gives a shit if all the rest of the girls are crazy? If you got one chick that likes you and may be willing to, you know, to mix it up with you and trying to find out who you are to get close." It was like they were lost. I said, "It's not like you two motherfuckers are ugly." I said, "Even back in my day, and stop telling me in back in my day and all that, it was so different." I mean, you know, when you got to a certain age, you wanted to know, you wanted to have a girl who likes you at least. Shit.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you guys are just thinking too much, trying to say if all the black women aren't acting right, then none of them are acting right. And so
That's
you
not-
guys
yeah, that's
probably
not true.
walking past, you're probably walking past your opportunities every day with that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
A
Absolutely.
lot of young guys, man, they superficial too. They're superficial. They want that certain look and bypass. They don't know how to look for any type of character, person. You know what I'm saying? Not saying a female. Some of their friends be slow ass mother. You know what I'm saying? So, and the women, like I agree with our pain when it comes to the women, man. Listen, the last thing I think y'all want to see me is back out there on the dating scene. I know I'm an older guy now, but I still understand it still takes both of us. And I can get at least 2 or 3 of them to like me, especially in their 40s and up. Yeah. But, I think, I don't know, a lot of guys never seen it. They come out of homes where they was told and talked about how ugly. I think, as I ask all the time, can you accept your ugly? Do you accept your ugly as a man? Not every woman is going to like you just because you confident in yourself. You should expect that. If you run up on 10 women and 4 of them find you interesting and want to get to know you and want to hang out with you, you betting 1,000 in the social world. You betting 1,000. And I think a lot of guys, they go with the superficial look of what we sort of put out there as a top 10 or a baddie. You know what I'm saying? But then they mad at the fact that a baddie want a baddie looking dude. And some dudes don't accept they ugly, and then they get mad. I mean, then you come with no personality.
You said a baddie dude?
No, I mean a good looking dude. I'm just being saying, because the sisters call you you a baddie to them too. If
I beg your pardon.
If she like how you look,
while you
ain't
playing
gotta
her,
go through
they
none
do
of
be
that.
wanting a baddie for real.
Yeah, and if you got that,
These women be able to.
They want a bad
red
bitch.
Red flag. A straight man is a red flag. You know what
see what
I'm
I'm
saying?
saying?
You
That
about
makes no
right,
sense.
Ferg.
Yeah,
I'm
they
just
gonna give
saying.
that nigga a flag. A fan. Where them fans at? Sock.
With your
Man,
right
I'm
hip.
gonna bring this, I think Monday I'm gonna be like you're talking about. You know what? The fact that men look at women the way they do is all women's fault. You know, if you really think about it, the women of today have spent so much time bearing themselves almost naked in front of men that it's hard for men to recognize the women, because most of the women you see the tits, right? The side boob, the ass, the camel toe, the women, and these are the women in front of the camera all the time. And
They done graduated to a moose knuckle now.
yeah, so I think the guys, when they look at women of their course, they're looking for how sexy you dress, and you get kind of desensitized to, well, there might be somebody internally in there that's worth talking to. But the moose knuckle was like over the top.
What was you saying, Irving? What was you saying?
I saw a twinkle in your eye. I'm like, you finna put them in.
If you see the moose knuckle, you ain't thinking about nothing else but how you're gonna have that wrestling match. Yeah, we're in a wrestling match tonight and shit. That's about it. And I think that's in general. There's this lady who talks about that. I'm gonna find a clip and I might show some of it on Monday. This lady really broke it down on how women project themselves today which makes men, and that's why when you have countries where women have to be a little bit more chaste in how they dress, those men are just those men. It does something to men in terms of how they relate to the women, because they see the woman that they know it's a woman, but they're not looking at the attributes. They're looking at the lady, right? And in America, since the lady, a lot of them, not all of them, but enough to make a difference, like to dress like whores, when men, just typical guys who might otherwise want to get to know you, they can't help but think, man, I'm already, just the visual makes you feel like you're on second base.
Yeah, but that's a lot of that's a learned behavior. The women's dress up today is a learned behavior.
Of course. And
So
where did they
that's
learn it from?
unfortunate. They
Where did they learn?
mamas and they aunties. The aunties are heavy.
So, and it's prevalent in the black community. And you can't tell nobody nothing. But this was a white lady speaking. And she was right on point. I said, maybe that's true. And the guy says, man, guys are like mesmerized by looking at the lady because they can't get past the superficial, because that's how the women present themselves.
Well, it'd be like that, R-Pain. Let me tell you, one of the hardest lessons I had to learn was that the finest chicks were the biggest freaks. I'm
Yes.
thinking the finest chicks all wholesome and carrying on. Nope.
Lady Lavone, how you doing?
They
Yes.
had your little feelings crushed. I'm like, I'm gonna bring this thing home, for to put a ring on her finger. Next thing you know, she down at the homeboy's house. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Oh, what you do there for, girl? Now I got to throw you in the barrel of the rest of these bros.
Mhm.
But that's how it is, man. You got to, that's why you can't go by looks, man. You better get you somebody who know how to make you some yams. You know what I'm saying? Some mac and cheese, something, be useful. You know what I'm saying? Forget all the extra.
So how do they? This is the thing, and I'm glad I got my daughter. She's moving closer and closer to me. She talking about doing her little podcast or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And we were talking about this. How do they navigate that now? Like, it's been so muffled up, so bad right now, where they don't know how to accept and approach, right? The men don't know how to approach the women. The women don't know what to accept, because they've been hearing this thing about these niggas ain't shit. They all cheaters. They all liars.
Well,
This is
JT,
what that generation gets now, right? Like with us, we can decipher it. But when you hear that generation talk, and I'm talking about late
Z's, right?
millennials and Z's, late millennials and Z's, they are super lost.
I'm gonna
Right?
tell you what it is, JT. That's something different. When their generation does it, it absolves them from actually taking action. So it's just easier for them to say, "Hey, everybody is broken," instead of just asking, "Hey, are you healed?" "Hey, my name is Lost. Pleased to meet you, and your name is." Okay, well, great. I can help but notice that you were sitting over here and then just have a conversation with people. It's just easier to sit there and just say, and you know what? All the people just trash. I'm just gonna sit here and just call everybody trash, so I don't have to do anything. Ain't that right, R-Pain?
Yeah, or because I didn't learn anything, I can't move forward. I mean, it's bullshit.
That's the problem.
You notice, like I really stopped trying to protect the boomers. And the same reason why I said, because 76 million boomers, so of course a whole bunch of them was fucked up. So I had to come to a realization that it ain't all boomers, because that's not my reality. But it was enough to make a difference. Enough messed up boomers to make a difference.
Yeah, that's why I said it wasn't all y'all. That's why, yeah.
So still, let me just say this. But it's still no excuse for a man living today to get lost with what his grandfather did back in the day. It's just information. And so I asked the dudes now. That's why I asked those guys on the panel. I didn't have no kind of suggestion for them. I said, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to
You told that motherfucker panel up. I ain't gonna even lie. You was saying some shit, man, that was solid as hell. And you came in the middle of them having whatever conversation they was having. You came and shut a lot of that shit down. I was like,
JT,
I don't even
I
know
think
if I knew he did that shit. I was like, God damn, he came and just fucked it all up.
in what you just spoke about with your own child, and I think R-Pain would agree. And you asked the question, how can you help them navigate this situation, everything goes through you.
Yeah, so
You know,
that's what
everything-
that's what. So this is the thing. This is my oldest daughter. So she's doing internship in the psychiatric, realm, and her whole thing is now she's starting to find. She's trying to find her niche, right? And she's like, oh, I want to be a spokesperson for men. And I was like,
for me,
so when I'm talking to her, I'm like, you know what a pick me is?
right.
She like, I said, no. One day I'm gonna have her on here because I didn't even realize how much my daughter, my oldest daughter, both my kids are like me and their mom. But it's some things that she have, like what she's doing now, where she's like, I want to do a podcast. But she don't have an idea on how to get it started. So she looks at this. She looks at a lot of other podcasts and stuff like that. We throw each other links and stuff like that all the time. But it's a dope thing. Links, nigga, not like hot dog. I'm so tired of these millennials, man. I ain't gonna even lie to you. I'm so tired of these goddamn. With these goddamn them dreads and shit. They get on my goddamn nerves, man. They go straight to the...
Shut the fuck up. It's a pause-free.
No, but it is funny because me and her had a conversation. My whole thing is, it's just my ideal where I'm just like, you probably can reach them. You could do a whole lot more than I can do, right? I was just telling her, for one, you're a young lady, you're very smart, and then you're attractive too. So I'm like, I can show you how to get, if you want to do the podcast thing, the idea that she has is like, I want to get these and get a building. No, fuck all that. They call it a podcast for a reason, right? So it's just at a point where like we talk for hours when we do talk. I don't, like their mom, she talks to them every day. I don't. But when we talk for hours, you know what I'm saying? And we all just accepted that part of it. They like, nah, dad is just not, he ain't the one that's gonna be talking every day and all that stuff. I call and, hey, what's up? What's going on with you? And things like that. We'll talk for an hour. But when we really have some things that we need to get off, man, we had talk for 4-5 hours, man. And it's just dope because I used to look at it as a curse. I said, damn, God gave me all girls. I used to be like, this shit is so fucked up shit right here. Now I look at it as a blessing because now I understand the things that I have to navigate through. I've never navigated through them. But man, it's dope to be able to explain it. And then I got a grandson. So I want my daughter to be able to make sure my grandson gonna be my grandson. So I'm like, I need to go ahead and get through her. And she's doing a great job right now, bro. A great job. But I'm like, just hearing her talk, hearing my youngest daughter talk, I be like, it's kind of like they're very removed. Not my oldest daughter, my youngest daughter's generation is very removed from just the ideology. I don't know if you guys seen this TikTok stuff that they be doing where they be doing these cliches, these sayings that everybody knew back in the day, and now they test the Generation Z's on it. Like they say, you finish the sentence, and they say, they'll say something that we all knew, that it's like, what goes up, finish it. Yeah. We all say goes down, right? Generation Z be like, what goes up? They be like, it stays up and it won't go nowhere else. It's like they don't know shit about any of the sayings that we've all, and this is the first generation that don't know that shit. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy, but at the same time, there's something that it should wake us all up on, where it's like, all of this shit is about to change from how we knew it. especially and it was funny because it was certain things where you be like, they should be able to get that stuff. It was, just regular sayings that we have, and they don't know it.
JT, listen, okay, but is that necessarily a bad thing?
No.
I mean,
That's why I said that. That's why I said that it's more of a funny thing because it was funny. It was more of a funny thing, and it's not a necessarily bad thing.
So that's what I'm saying. Like I always say, it'd be nice to have these young people, without us saying anything, just ask them questions about where do you see yourself in 10 years? Where do you see the future looking like?
Mm-hmm.
So that'll help them think beyond what they've learned, right? Because now they got to think on, because again, you're the ones who are going to shape the future. It ain't going to be me, right? I mean, it's right. Whatever the baby boomers have done, the truth is that our age is coming to an end. You're here. What are you going to make the future look like? And that's what I think they need to start thinking about more. And I think there's a lot of people in our community that won't let them release to think that, because we spend so much fucking time talking about the past. We just do. I mean, I'm saying, all right, yeah, okay, you can read that shit in a book. You can look at a documentary. You can do all that stuff. But where do you see yourself moving forward? Remember in the early days in science fiction, Black people couldn't live past the first 5 minutes? If we were in a science fiction movie, we were the first to die, right? Like if we saw Star Trek and when they went to the planet, there was a Black ensign. He wasn't coming back. Everybody,
Right.
the girl was coming back. And so I'm just saying, what's going to be our part to play in the future? And the young people need to be thinking about. They're starting to talk about work-life balance. Okay, shit. Now, like back in the day, it was just work. It was work. You had to.
That's where we at. Yeah.
So, but now a lot of young people in the Z's, especially, they go crazy if they say, "You mean I got to work 40 to 50 hours a week for 65 years? For 35 years, they going crazy over that shit, right?"
Yeah.
But the future, if that's not what you want to do in the future, you got to find out how you're going to survive with this work-life balance shit in your head, right? How are you going to survive that way?
Yeah, I think that's where it's very needed for us to have very serious conversations with, our kids and their generation, because I ain't gonna even lie, it was like a culture shock. It was a culture shock when I did the show that I did when it showed that those kids. It wasn't that they just, and you're right, it wasn't that they were dummies. It was the fact that wasn't important to them, right? It wasn't important. And so when you see the things that, it's kind of like a culture shock to us, though, Coach Ferg. It's a culture shock to us.
What's a culture shock? I need to be clear on that.
For instance, when all the sayings, all these cliches that we've been hearing all our life, bro. God knows my heart type of shit. You know what I'm saying? They don't subscribe to any of that stuff.
Because they don't socialize today. Young adults don't socialize. They don't have that outside. We hanging at the park. We going to the little spot. I remember on Sundays or Saturdays, depending on where you lived at, you drive through that known park, man. Everybody riding through 2 miles an hour. You seeing old friends from all around the town that you ain't seen. Your girl, little high school. Like you play basketball, you see the guys you went to the other school. Those times are non-existent today in most cities and towns. Young folk don't hang out like that. Now, remember, the guys didn't get with the girls until it was scenes to go to hang around girls. You didn't have girls walking with your boys and 3 or 4 of y'all. There was a crew. You didn't have no girls walking with you. Now they all mixed together. There's no separation.
But is it all? My thing is this: is it all bad though?
Yes, most of it is bad, JT, because they come. You talking because y'all. I heard y'all mention young people, and I keep telling y'all, and this is me. When I hear y'all say that, y'all have a message for the younger people. Those 16, 17, 18, 19-year-olds need to hear everything y'all need to say.
Yeah,
because we're talking. No, hold up, but see, our pain. A lot of them come from homes that had no leadership to say go get it. That's why I say it's good. Sometimes when you have it, sometimes you just got to go in that presence. Now, once you give your messages and your understanding of how they can accomplish it, then that's when you start seeing the transformation. Then that's where you start seeing the love. But what we see on YouTube, we see most people here on YouTube are 25 and over. They already went through the work. They feel like they don't have to work. My mom and daddy didn't teach me. Didn't nobody teach me how to do this? But you know how to fuck on your own. You know how to make a baby on your own.
Yeah.
Didn't nobody teach me how to do this? Didn't nobody teach you how to cook? What did you eat all of your life? But you watching videos, everybody making excuse on what nobody taught them. Hell, my mom and daddy didn't teach me a whole lot of shit, but I watched, I paid attention. I learned in school and I learned in the neighborhood and I learned at home and I followed suit. And some stuff you have to learn on your own. But here we are in YouTube.
Right? Yeah, so
I'm looking at 21 to 41-year-olds who should be out here mixing and mingling and scraping up their little twos and fews to get. Everybody's fighting and nobody's building. Nobody's willing to work. Even the guys don't even work together. It makes no sense to me. I just, it's hard for me to wrap my head around it because when I know I was in those spaces talking to young people, young men and young women who may have thought that their life or felt their life was so bad, when I sit down and gave them a plan, most were able to figure it out and sort of navigate through that experience in a positive light. But when you come out here at 35 years old, man, I listen to people, man. Most people 40 and under, everything's bad to them. The women are bad, the men are bad, the boomers messed us up. They put all the blame on everybody else instead of saying, this is my life. I got more access to information. I haven't got to go read it. Well, they don't hardly read because it's adults that didn't teach themselves how to read. More access, more real-time situations, and a lot of them just choose to just continue to subjugate themselves. There's no excuse to it.
You're right, though, but it's not that they just choose. It's not that they choose. I agree with that. But they choose under this oppressive propaganda that they continually hear everywhere. Like if you're just a regular person, like a Gen Zer, a millennial, maybe I'll take it black. As being black, right? We used to assume that just being born made us Democrats, for example. No reason why I was born a Catholic. You know what? A Baptist person look at me like, "What you mean you were born a Catholic?" And if you're a Baptist, at some point you got to go get baptized because you got to choose. That's how you're going to follow. But in the Catholic Church, if your parents were Catholic, you're born a Catholic, and they baptize you when you're a little baby, right? So most of us have been through our life, woke up before we got any ideology at all. We were pretty much, whether we cared or not, we voted the way our parents voted, right? They're still down the party line. And I'm not trying to get political. I'm just saying it was programming, right? So with how our relationships, a lot of it is, I kind of figured out I figured out what I needed to do in life. It was just my peer pressure because nobody told me shit. But back in my day, most people went to high school. Then they planned to go to either the service or to college, right? And so I just followed the trends, but nobody helped me fill out an application. Nobody. Nobody went to find me the financial aid to where I had to do it. So it was something that I was just following the gravy train, right? Now, I did pick engineering because my cousin was a chemical engineer, right? And he volunteered to go to Vietnam, my older cousin, but he was a chemical engineer. Man, my whole family went crazy when he volunteered, by the way, because he was the golden boy. And Vietnam was a dangerous place. But he volunteered to go. And he came back, but shit, man, he's still going through PSTD, whatever shit. But he made a good career out of himself. But that's why I went to school for being an engineer, because I looked at him. He didn't even talk to me about it, but it made sense that he had a job. He got with Monsanto and all that kind of shit. I didn't know back then, man, Monsanto poisoned the world. But anyway, he got a job. So I just had those I was just rubbed up against people that I just kind of through osmosis said that's a good path. And a lot of that shit is gone. And so, like I said, I voted for Hillary Clinton. I sound like a real conservative now, but shit, Hillary Clinton was just what, less than 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So my whole life, I was still on the, thinking one way in ideology until my eyes kind of opened. Wait a minute, man, we're standing still. No, we're not standing still. We're going backwards as Black people.
Mm-hmm.
And how could we be in one ideology for so long and we don't see progression? Right? And so I just started asking myself that, why? And so you just got to start thinking differently. And it doesn't make me a Republican. I'm still a registered Democrat. But that doesn't mean that forces me to vote the way that I need to do. I don't really go forward with the paperwork. I'm going to always be somewhere in the middle now. But anyway, that's another story. But I'm trying to say the kids of today, okay, they're lacking, and I'm going to end it here. They might be lacking those guides to tell them where to go. But what I'm saying, it still doesn't absolve you from moving forward. No matter how you think, okay, everybody was fucked up. We went through it. And on Monday, I'm going to try to put something together that makes it cohesive. All the things that happened to us from the 60s to now has had a tremendous effect on the Black community.
Yeah.
And we have to try to change it on ourselves, because nobody's going to really help people do that. We just got to recognize that we got to break the mold. And as the young people have to decide that, okay, my parents made me a latchkey kid. Well, there were some things about the latchkey kids that made them more tolerant of how to handle themselves as adults.
It did. Absolutely. It did.
Kids, shit.
Yeah, I mean, we are the original latchkey kids. So we the OGs for real.
Yeah.
You know what the difference is, R-Pain? I don't think that this new generation stays curious, man. What I mean by that is when we were young, our main focus was, what piqued our curiosity. If you wanted to be in a band, you learn how to play music. You know what I'm saying? And if you wanted to play football, you play sports. You want to be the best you could be. You know what I mean? That type of thing. If you had a hankering for science, you went into engineering or some type of STEM field. That was pretty much your main focus. And then while you were in that field, if you happen to meet somebody, then you'll meet somebody right around the same mindset as you. So it's not as hard. But I think what happens is with kids today, they make people their main focus. But the problem with that is that people change, man. Mm-hmm, and when they try to hang their hat on somebody who changes all the time, and it throws the whole world out of whack. It throws the whole paradigm out of shift because people get the right to change. Because a person, but you can't expect, people to stay the same all the time. And you shouldn't build your house on that. You should find something that interests you and do that. Say, for instance, you want to do carpentry or something like that. Be the best carpenter that you can be. Find joy in that. You know what I'm saying? So that way you become proficient and a master of that, and then move on to something else. The world is full of huge ideas. It's full of problems that need to be solved. Mm-hmm. And I think that is where we find a fulfillment in life and joy in solving problems that need to be solved, especially when you're able to accomplish it. Because there's no greater feeling when you actually take the time out to learn something that took you a while to figure out or learn how to master. That is a fantastic feeling. And I couldn't imagine going your whole life without having that one thing that you wanted to master and you never did because you were busy chasing somebody else while they were probably chasing their dream. To me, that's an empty life to live, man.
Yeah, for sure. No, I listened to you, Lawson, man. You and R-Pain. So I want to ask y'all this question: was there any man or woman in your family who talked down about the opposite sex?
No.
See what I'm saying? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Despite whatever differences there were, right, they still understood the importance of each other being in the unit, being in your life. And certain, we could all say, yeah, I'm glad they kept some of that shit out of our face.
Exactly.
because it as I see it today, the children, a lot of young people are coming out of whatever home they live in without the confidence needed to not worry about other people, but to even just thrive in society. They already believing that they're less than. And then they try to dive into other people, expecting the same type of person that's broken to pour into them to be great when that person is broke too. And I'm not talking financially because we all started, most of us started from the project time, but the project was one of the best places to be back in the day. You learn so much, you know what I'm saying? But now, over since my adult life, and again, I being somebody who worked in the worst of socialization, when you're working with the youth in the socialization, when you're working with families that are on drugs, fathers that are in prison, young men going to prison, getting out, young women going to prison, getting out, all of those things. A lot of those adult kids in the early 90s are now adults. And I can see how they speak and own the worst of everything. It's so bad. You can't be going into adulthood continuously owning the worst of shit you ain't have nothing to do with. Stuff you couldn't even control, and they own it into their own lives. And like Arpain said, he put in the work to be an engineer and put himself in that position. Lost in Translation is a man who's put in the work to get himself in that position. And if you're not willing to do that, that's when you got to come into your own understanding of a person. If you're not willing to do that, you can't expect any of us to say, oh, look at the poor adult. He didn't have his money. We don't give a damn about that. You got to find something with you. And sometimes it's hard. But one of the easiest ways I can tell anybody, get away from them dumbass people who always telling you ain't shit. Stop talking to them. Delete them on the phone. Stop trying to pull up and hang out with them. Somebody who's always taking from you. Get away from them. Allow yourself to be your own individual. Find out who you really are. If not, you're going to, the strongest part of your life, you're going to be pouring into other people who don't value you. And when you wake up, you're going to be already drained out.
So in that point, though, Coach, that's true what you just said. The other part is not only when they telling you ain't shit, one of the narratives, and you hear this from women a lot, men have their own problem from the past. If you talk to the typical woman, especially up here on YouTube, they would tell you that the women of the past were slave. I mean, the women back then never loved a man. They didn't love their husbands. They didn't want to. They only were with men because they had to be. That's one of the biggest lies feminists.
That's a big ass lie.
And so the point really is, and it's not just the nefarious chicks who want to be skanks. I've heard that come from women who otherwise should know better.
Mm-hmm.
But to tell people that the women in the past, none of them loved their husbands, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
No, and they really believe that. Now, did some women get beat up beside their head and all this other kind of shit back then? They're still getting that beat up beside their head now. So the point really is that a lot of women they were dedicated to the men that they loved. And it was really took death to their part. I tell people, when you say all that shit to me, I don't know what you're talking about. Every single one of my aunts from the silent generation, and some of them were baby boomers, when they got married, they all worked. They all retired. They all had pensions.
Mm-hmm.
Stayed around because they wanted to. They didn't have to. I mean, they had to say, you got a job. They didn't look at a job like a flex. They just looked at a job as something you had to do. To survive, right? That you're an adult, so. But today, so they think that all women back then, that the real answer is, if you have your own, then I don't need a man, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the trope that they went with. And then men had their own little problems, where they bastardized what red pill really meant. It's just be aware, not that you have to be in this rage because all women ain't acting right. Right. So I never really liked that whole thing because you got to come out of the rage. and understand that, hey, listen, like you said, people tell me women are different now, but in the end, they're still women.
Mhm.
Biologically, they still got the same imperatives.
It's just still
It's
women.
still there.
But I can't tell nobody that because they say, oh, because the first thing they'll tell me, women were like, different back then. They were like these flowery little angels and shit that came from heaven and shit like that.
But that's what. Yeah, but our pain. That's what it does. It irritates the fuck out of me when I hear people that ain't even lived past 1996.
Right.
And they sit there and talk about how it was back in the day, and I'm like, wait, how you know more than I know? And I wasn't even, I was born in '72.
Crack era, JT. Crack era. Come on, man. Crack era, man.
Imagine how our pain is like. What the fuck are y'all talking about? It ain't like back in the day, because back in the '60s, women, they didn't even have bank accounts, and they didn't even have, like, man, what the fuck are you talking about? I've seen it. I've seen women.
They didn't have bank accounts, but their husband sure came home and gave them all that paycheck.
The check.
I'm actually working on a show that I found from the 70s
crazy
on how all of this stuff started. Sometimes you can find the genesis of something.
Yeah.
Well, I actually found the video, and next Thursday I'm gonna put it together on BMU channel. I'm gonna show y'all exactly where it came from.
Yeah.
And see how ridiculous it is. Some of these women have hung their hat on this whole BS about checking their savings accounts and women only marry men for survival. When they see where it came from, they are going to feel stupid.
So bad.
Yeah.
So fucking bad.
So here's another misnomer about these old bank accounts and checking accounts, right? This is stupid, man. Older people back in, my grandmother, when she passed, she had $30,000 cash. She had his stuff somewhere. Older people didn't go to the bank with their money. That's why when they pass away, you find thousands of dollars that they done stored up for your little slow ass to get the house, and you let the house go for $4,000 worth of taxes. Then you talking about life is hard. When your family, your grandmama, granddaddy, they left your ass property and you let that shit go because you want to go buy a $2,000 wig and go on a girls trip and the dumbass kids and buy them some Jordans and shit. Come on, man.
It wasn't even that. It was the silent generation.
It was never about the bank account.
No, it was never about the bank account. But this is the thing: the silent, because I've seen it happen. Right, the silent generation actually was the heirs of the property. Right, my grandmother. What were we talking about? 1926, 1936, 1930, 1946.
Silent was 26 to 46.
Yeah. So when you're talking about that, I had the privilege to seeing my great grandfather, my great grandmother, right? I had a privilege. In the 80s, they were already at, before my grandmother died first, 70, I think it was 75 years anniversary. I got a picture, and this was in the 80s, and they had this big old cake, and it had 75-year anniversary. And it was crazy. Now, it's crazy now. Back then, I didn't really have the concept ingrained in me, right? I just seen it. I just saw that we was all celebrating my great-grandparents' 75th anniversry. But as I got older, I said, that was some crazy-ass shit right there. That was wild. Do you know how old they were when they got married, though? That was crazy.
When they were like 15, 14? 13?
One of them was 16, the other one was 14. The other one was 14. That right there, and I had a chance to be in their house. I remember being in their basement, right? They had this picture of their parents and grandparents. They had a picture of their parents and grandparents, and they had this cotton that was in the frame. It was in the frame, right? And I was just like, why would they put some, you know what I'm saying, some sticks and cotton
Yeah, it's a real cotton.
And then once, the family members start talking about it, like now, we even talk about our history, right? When we all get together, we have a family reunion. It's probably 2 hours, 3 hours of people sitting the fuck down. Ain't nobody partying and drinking and all that shit. They're learning about their heritage, right? They're learning about not slavery itself, but the culture through slavery, right? How we end up being who we are right now. And what happened. They didn't just learn about what slavery was and it was bad and all that. No, we get this whole thing of, that the person that owned our ancestors also left our ancestors all of their land in Mississippi, Tennessee, Louisiana, and this is how we ended up trading that off and having land in Detroit. And man, when you hear it, 2 hours worth of that, right? It was the resilience that they were teaching us and not the bad parts of it. That's like what Coach Ferg was just saying, what you were saying, RP. It wasn't just the bad, it was how we were resilient through all those things that were going on at those times and how we ended up being where we at right now. But then it gets to a point where it's like, damn. Now, because it makes you feel bad when you say, well, and this is what we got. This is what we're left with right now. We have all of these things. Like they understood economics then and couldn't read at a third grade level, but they knew what a contract was. They learned how to fill out, a contract. They knew how to transfer it over to their kids and their kids' kids. And it just went to, I don't know who just said it, but we had that the houses and the land or whatever it was that we had, wherever we were in America. And then you had the other generation just take it and fuck it off because they wanted to get some frivolous ass shit.
Well, you know what, JT, because your family kind of sound like mine and probably Litz and all that. The older generation accumulated a lot of stuff, but the one thing they didn't have and they didn't do was train the younger folks on how to maintain it and a lot of people didn't have the wills set up to where they had executives to say, this is how we're going to handle such and such land after these people pass away. Like my wife has some land from North Carolina, and she's, we pay the taxes on it. We just pay the taxes, right? We haven't gone there. I make sure we just keep paying the taxes. So, but the point really is that one property is just from her father to her, so that's easy. But there's another property that was in arrears for taxes that was for all the cousins and stuff, and she's the only one paying taxes. Right? All the rest of the people, they ain't paying the taxes. It would have been gone by now. She didn't keep sending that much. And it ain't that much. But if she went down there and tried to claim it and build something, all of a sudden people would be coming out of the woodworks, right? And saying, "Oh, what's my piece?" Blah 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 blah. But they wouldn't be going that. So we didn't really get a lot of that shit together as from generation to generation. Some of it is ignorance. Some of it is negligence.
Yes.
So, and that's so it's incumbent upon you and me and Lit and people of now to make sure that shit doesn't happen going forward. Right? Because my daughter's therefore know better, right?
And that's what it is, because we're supposed to be better, right? We're supposed to
babies pass down the knowledge.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And so when we have these conversations, like I said, a lot of people, they would sit back and they shit on the next generation. And it does. It kind of infuriates me now, like just listening to what a lot of people say. Well, it's the boomers' fault. And it's like, God damn, what, the boomers gonna be sitting there just taking all the goddamn. That's why we make the joke so much. And the craziest thing is, and I said it before, Payne, but I got an uncle that basically is kind of like the same age you are. He passed away, but the thing was that he wasn't that much older than me when we were kids, right? And to be adults, it was like he probably was an adult for like 8 years before I was. But as I got to be an adult, we started hanging out with each other, right? It didn't take that long for us to do that. And then he ended up having kids. As a matter of fact, he has a child that's probably the same age as my oldest child. Probably about, the difference probably is about 2 years or something like that. But so when we start talking about our history, it's the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the reason why we would do that is to give them to try to enhance their fortitude to make things better, right? And to understand that we all are connected. Right now, what we're in right now is we're in a era where people are talking independence, and it's like that don't do shit for you. It doesn't do anything. Independence, it shouldn't stop with independence, right? Because before I can do anything for anybody else, I got to do something for myself. But then I have to share it. And then we have to connect it all together and things like that. It's kind of like mathematics, man. So that's the dopest thing about when I hear you talk and I hear other engineers talk. It's kind of like the way you guys convey things, because you have a different way on how you think mathematically, right? But then you put it with social and all these different things. And we ain't got no choice but to listen to that, man, because it makes sense. Because it's logical. You know what I'm saying?
Go ahead.
Oh,
go ahead. No, go ahead. Finish. I was just saying, yeah, I agree.
So when I look at my kids, it's kind of like I don't want to do what the generation before me did as far as the flaws, right? As far as the flaws, but I don't want to be preachy, right? Because I done had some uncles and aunties. They were very preachy. They didn't give a fuck about what I thought. They just want to fix shit, right? And I listened to them or whatever. But at the end of the day, I want to be able to have a balance when it comes to that. That's why I like when I talk to my daughter. I don't come across to her as preachy. So we can sit back and have some major conversations, because even though I don't come preachy, I say some real harsh things, right? I can say so. I'll be like, this is just life. I'm going to tell you what it is. It is not going to be good, but it's life, right? And she can be able to digest it, and she can understand that it's not probably what she probably wanted to hear at that time, but it's probably something that she needed to hear. And then she can digest it. You know what I'm saying? And then, we'll talk about it once she figure it out. And then she'd come back to me and she'd be like, I heard what you said at the time, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes I'll be forgetting what the fuck I be saying sometimes. And she'd be like, but I heard what you said. And she done worked it out in her head and whatever she did. And she'd say, now listen to this. And then she'd say something. And I'd be like, damn, that is my baby.
Yeah. So you were going to say something?
Yeah, man. Here's our problem with black folks. We like to talk around the damn problem instead of actually putting pen to paper. Mm-hmm. We'll sit up here and tell people we should build generational wealth, but we don't go through the mechanics of pulling out the damn piece of paper and doing the damn research and moving the one and carrying the damn zero. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, we got this and we talk about that. No, hell no. You need to go down to the courthouse. You need to get this particular form. Mm-hmm. You need to talk to Miss Barbara, who down there, and tell her this is what we want to have set up. She gonna add $250. You give her this. We're going to come back and we're going to have this form filled out. We're going to holler at Frank, the attorney, make sure we draw this stuff up, and then we're going to go down to the bank and we're going to record this and that. That's where we need to be more specific, instead of just sitting on the internet talking about, so we need to build generational wealth. Mm-hmm. We're wasting a whole lot of damn time talking about nothing. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to build generational wealth, you need to be damn specific about it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Instead of all this kumbaya and saying what sound good. No. You pull out the damn calculator. You find out whose house this damn house, name this thing really in. You run a title search on it. You know what I mean? You go through the business of doing damn business. And I think that's our problem. We don't pass down the damn business end of business. We always like to pass down all the trauma, but we don't never pass down the damn knowledge. You see what I'm saying? We don't go out and set up trust. We don't get life insurance policies. We don't do the damn things that we really need to do. All we do is sit up there and talk about foolishness and mayhem. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. Let's crunch some damn numbers. Show people how to actually do some of this stuff instead of talking down on them. That's what I don't like. I've been noticing that, man, ever since the 90s. All we do is just talk around a damn problem. I'm the type of person, I'm like our pain. Pull out your damn pencil and your paper and let's write this down. You see what I'm saying? Make sure we don't miss anything. And then that way we can actually start to do something. Because if you have a plan, you can execute your plan. And if you get off of your plan, you know how to fix it. But all you do is talking about, well, we need to build generational wealth. You'll never get rich because you don't have a damn plan. That's our problem, man. We don't put numbers and paper together with a plan. That's our problem. And until we do that, we're just going to be simply doing the same thing. And we're going to be last place, just like everybody else. That's our problem.
You know what I had a problem with people too was when they used to say, yeah, I mean, he's saying some good shit, but I mean, that shit boring. I'm like, God.
He broke then.
Right.
They broke then.
That shit used to irritate the fuck out of me. You be like, did you hear what he said? They like, I mean, it did what they were used to were people to move them emotionally. But when somebody say, okay, now that we got all of that other shit out of here, let's put pen to paper. You are absolutely right. Because when it comes down, hey, we need to get our credit together. All right. Do you understand what that shit entails? You gotta do sometimes some of you motherfuckers got so much debt, we have to have a spreadsheet. And they'll sit back and they get there, and then now they mind is wandering somewhere else, lost. They sitting there, they ain't even listening to what you got to say. And the shit that sound boring is the most important shit that it is.
It's time for us to move from being consumers to producers, man.
To producers.
If everybody's around here talking about FICOs, and I'm talking about Dun and Bradstreet numbers, we talking two different things.
Man, that FICO don't mean shit if you ain't got a Dun and Brad. That FICO don't mean shit. And see, people think because you got an LLC, that nigga, that's just a liability. It's to keep you from getting sued for some money that you ain't got. That's all that is. But when you start talking S corporation, doing business as, a lot of people don't understand these things because they're not interested. Not because ain't nobody telling them. Motherfuckers that sit back. You got YouTube. I told people this. You got YouTube. There's no excuse. You got YouTube and Google. There's no fucking excuse. The only thing is that, see, because the shit is not entertaining, you're not interested. Sometimes you gotta, it's tedious things that you gotta sit back and learn. Do y'all remember that when a computer first?
You get around people who want to do what you're doing.
No, that's the number one thing. That's what I was just about to say. When it came down, y'all remember?
You don't know what you're missing.
Yeah,
you don't know what you don't know until you don't know it.
If it's entertaining to you, this is the thing. If it's entertaining to you, then that don't mean shit. Only thing that does is inspire you to want to learn, right? But at the end of the day, that's what I was about to say, the computers, right? Remember when we used to have to type in our commands instead of before we had this thing called a mouse, we used to have this thing called MS-DOS. MS-DOS, you used to have to type in all the commands. There was a black and green screen. And the thing, this was crazy. I still fuck with the black and green screen. You know, I mean, what I do in my job, they have never, they like, we ain't figured out how to, it's the government. They always talk about they ain't figured out how to do certain things, right? I don't care. It's tedious shit you got to learn. You remember how that shit used to go to MS-DOS _. we used to, did you know how tedious? And a lot of people, right?
Get hood.
Man, come on. At the end of the day, it was tedious, but I had the fortitude to learn it. It was the same thing with finances, right? It's very tedious. Taxes, very tedious. All of the things that mean something is going to be very fucking tedious. So when we start talking, we're going to start talking in tedious ways, right? Well, okay, you said that you thought that was going to be a fix. That's not a fix because I'm about to bring you another problem. People, it's very hard for people that don't want to actually get something fixed to talk to people like that. At my job, I remember when I first started working there and I used to say, well, this is going to be a problem here. They were like, why are you so negative? Like, this shit is important. What do you mean why I'm so negative? I'm telling you, this is going to be a problem that's about to come up. I'm giving you an opportunity to solve a problem before it becomes a bigger problem. And they don't want that, right? That's why when you start talking to people about when in stocks and bonds and they start talking about money and you start talking to a different group of people, they're just as tedious, ain't they? These motherfuckers are assholes. And they know why that they are. This is why you have people, when it comes down to their account, they know to the last, what they used to say, I know to the last penny of what I have in my account. Right. That's a tedious thing to do. A very tedious thing to do. And that's what we have to get back to. We have to get, and like I said, this generation that we have right now, fellas, it's going to be not the have and have nots. It's the can and can'ts. Or the can't and won'ts.
Yeah, that's more like it.
The can and won'ts, because I can't believe what I'm seeing right now, man. And I'm like, golly, this is a lot, man. It's a lot that's going on. A lot that's going on.
Yeah, so again, a lot of people have to decide that they want to research some issues, or if you kind of know where you're lacking. Like, you'll have some of the young people say, well, I wasn't taught A, B, and C. Well, look it up. Look it up now.
Look it up, dude. Yep.
Just look it up. Say, hey, listen, this is what, this is how I need to do whatever it might be that you feel like you're lacking. Yep. If you know you have some skills that you need to brush up on, your past is not stopping you from trying to find out how to hone up on those skills now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, I think we spend, and this is not necessarily their fault, but I think as a people, we spend, and we have people who are being paid to keep us there. I think we have a whole bunch of people being paid at certain levels to keep our minds in the past.
Yes.
And I don't want to use like victimization and shit. Like, just the thought process is that if our past isn't affirmed by Mighty or something like that, we can't move forward. That's just not true.
Right.
Or if they don't say I apologize, or if they don't do that, they're looking at us saying, well, shit, man, I wasn't no slave owner. And it sounds glib, right? But for when they say it, but it's just as true as me saying I wasn't no slave.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, so it's hard for some of them to project themselves that, shit, man, I didn't know that we could have been that cruel, because that's not the reality, and guilt can only go so far, so I'm just saying, I just think that we have to save ourselves a lot, and it has to be like, I don't believe in collectives, right? I don't, we're not, groupthink doesn't do us well. Or anybody, right? We're not like Stepford Wives or The Handmaid's Tale and shit like that. We're individuals, and we have to find common ground, but it's not going to be with everybody. It's just going to be with the people who want to jive the way we want to jive. And it could be like pockets of positivity, even though we're not all talking the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think we need to recognize that. Like, for example, if you have a group that's too big to solve a problem, sometimes you can't get nowhere, because I want my idea to take precedent over your idea, over that third person's idea, even though all three of the ideas are good. So, so I don't know, man. So And so I'm that. But I like what I told those young guys. Listen, man. How you fix the future isn't up to me. So I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. You figure that shit out.
Mhm.
You got more life to go forward than I do.
Yep.
It's not for me to fix it for you. You're here now. We're in the same podcast at 2025. We know what the problem is, right? My solution. I'm not going to tell you what I think the solution is because I don't have to live it. You do. So you come up with your shit, man. And if you come to me and ask me, then I'll tell you because now I know you want to hear it. But I'm not offering shit no more. I'm not. That's it.
Yeah, you ain't gonna be over there telling somebody out there where you be like, well, what you need to do, because they ain't trying to hear you anyway.
Just exactly right.
Right.
Exactly right. I'm over here and shit. Oh, it's all fucked up. And I'm telling you it now. You got to, shit, it's up to you, man. You got another 40, 50 years
to figure this shit out.
You're miserable right now. And how long you want to stay miserable, man? I couldn't believe when I asked those guys. I couldn't believe when I asked those dudes, "Do you have a girlfriend?"
Yeah.
They couldn't answer the question. I tell you what, man. I got married. I was like 29 when I finally got married. But anywhere in my 20s, if somebody asked me if I had a girlfriend, I think my answer was going to be yes.
Yeah.
I don't know when. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
God, man. You mean you don't have no girlfriend? I didn't even say it like that. I said, you don't have a girl that's sweet on you? God, not one? I said, what the fuck? What's going on? Like I was crazy.
That's crazy, man.
Not the one that they felt that they deserved. They want.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the problem.
And that is their problem. That's their problem. That's not the woman's problem. It's their problem.
Exactly. But why she don't like me, I pain. I work. I do right. Why she don't like me? She dislike me.
I'm a real man.
Yeah, I've never
trying to fix your damn sandwich. That's what you need to be with.
I've never had a friend. I never had a friend that was like my close friend that ever said some crazy ass shit like that. Why she don't like me? I done seen some dudes that done said it. They wasn't my friends, but we figure it out when it comes down. Man, I tell a lot of people this. Man, I love my childhood and I love my teenagehood. Right?
Yeah.
And man, especially when it came down to dating women, man, because that was my time when I was really learning women. Man, I was really learning them. They were fickle, but they liked you. It was like I used to think like they giving me mixed messages until I start mastering that shit. I'd be like, I know why she's saying that shit. I know why she doing. You know what I'm saying? And then it flipped. And they was like, I don't understand why you doing what you doing or why you saying what you say. Now they trying to figure me out. All right? And I used to just kind of be like, yeah. And I'm not gonna be an asshole and nothing like that, but I'm gonna always be like, I was more quiet, right? Yep. When the women sit back and they trying to pry and they were like, well, why did you say or why did you do? I'll be a little more reserved on what I'm saying to them. And then eventually, if I actually end up being with them and after some time, because they're gonna bring it back up. They don't forget shit.
But JT, can I ask all you guys a question while it's a bubble in my head? The difference between men and women. All your experiences in those formative years as men, this is what I think. I have millions of women, but I had just enough with different scenarios. I really believe men take that to learn how to deal with women in the future. But when women do that with a lot of men, it turns like for instance, I never saw a man at 30 say, I'm all traumatized, I got too much pussy. I never heard that. I never heard that.
Right.
But when women try to do that, it turns into trauma later on because the lessons are not being learned by them because they're just absorbing energy through all of that different shit. And it's some bad energy, they're just absorbing spirits. That's it.
That's true.
Sometimes I think we look at this situation with this woman, that situation with that one, this one. Now, if you have 100 women, you'll lose some of the bubble, right? Because you can't remember all of it. But if you have some bubble. Yeah, if you have just enough.
I done called somebody another person's name. I done
lost some bubble.
That's right. You can lose a bubble on some of them. I had just enough. So I remember a lot of it. I took a little bit of piece of nuggets on how to deal with honeys with me. I still use some of that shit I learned today.
Yeah, she still work.
I think we all remember our past. Like, I remember my first girl, and every woman who's not a virgin remembers her first guy.
For sure.
Yeah.
Right? They all do. And so the point I'm saying is, I think they absorb that period of exploration in a very different way than men do.
That's
It is.
Very different way.
It is.
You know what's crazy? This modern time, what's unique is that I see a young man, they don't understand those social cues when a woman is interested in you. JT, you sort of alluded to it in a sense, but if a woman likes you and you say something, sort of whether it could possibly make her feel embarrassed or you picking on her, she's gonna receive it a whole lot different than if somebody like me she don't like. She'd be ready to fight me, call me gay, call me all kinds.
You
But
ain't shit.
JT, why you so cruel on me? You know what I'm saying? And some guys don't know how to pick those cues up because when we like a woman, especially when we young, a lot of times if we like a girl, we want her to know it. We gonna touch her, we gonna race her, and we gonna be in a position where we can be close to her and try to wrestle, see, you know what I'm saying? But it's, again, that's the difference of the time because a lot of these guys, they never really had those experiences.
Yeah.
No.
And they done got to a space why don't she like me? Because women have types. They have types.
Bro, let me tell you something.
Oh.
I've liked multiple women at one time.
Yes.
It was like, and
A
they
few
were all
times.
different. And I'm like, and you know, when women, why do men cheat? Because y'all have no idea of the power that y'all have.
Mhm.
I've had women where I was just like, okay, I ain't slept with her or nothing, but I'm like, I need to be around her a little more because, man, we had a great, you know what I'm saying, a great interaction with each other, especially like school. That's what I loved about school. That was probably my motivation of going to school, high school, even junior high, because it was man, that feeling that girls give you when you young.
And
man,
they get up close to you.
I don't even, man, that feeling, nigga, you go home, you can't wait to get to work. I mean, get back to school. You can't wait to get to school.
But remember,
man.
look, when y'all were young, right, and y'all was around a little girl, say y'all was outside playing, y'all was around a little girl, and she had that little scent come across your nose and shit. You like, oh my God.
Them pheromones was
You catch some of that hair
heavy.
scent or something, your mama don't put that little, you like, oh man, she likes me. She ain't said shit to you, but she
Yeah.
liked it.
Man, it makes you do some stupid shit too.
Yes.
I had this Spanish girl. When I was in grade school, I must have been in 8th grade. I had a crush on. I still remember her first and last name right now. We didn't tune up because I wasn't her type. I was down in Harlem, Spanish Harlem. I just one day strolled down her block.
Oh,
And back then it was tough, right? I didn't know nothing. I was in enemy territory, just so I could see her. And she was in the window. She called my name out on the street when I'm walking down the street. She said, "What you doing?" She said, "What you doing around here?" And I don't know whether she saved me or not, right? I was just that's when you got it, you do some stupid shit. I'm walking out here with my Captain School bag and everything. Just to see if I could get a glimpse of this. You know what I'm saying?
You finna get bit by Chico chasing you down the block on your
right. And look, fellas, this was before sex, right? So this is why a lot of young men don't understand when we saying things like that right there. This is before the whole sex thing. It's like the essence of that. To this day, it's this one girl. She ended up having like 6-7 kids, man. When I tell you this girl was so, when I tell you, man, we was in the 5th grade. I think when she first came in my neighborhood, we was in the 5th grade. Man, she was so beautiful, man. Her name was Dawn too. A name like Dawn. And she was so beautiful, man. And the crazy thing was that I didn't say anything to her for like a week. And then when I finally said something to her, I found out she was interested in me. She actually liked me. And she was telling me that she had a crush on me and all this stuff. So I'm walking her home from school. And but she has some strict ass grandparents. And she stayed around the block from me. She has some strict ass grandparents, man. And I was just like, oh, when I used to drop off, I hated to see her go.
What's wrong with you?
That's how she came up with them 5 kids.
Dude,
Man.
she finally gave me her phone number. Me and her talked on the phone for about 2 hours because my parents was like, that's enough. We had a house. This is house phone. This shit.
2 hour limit.
Right. Or unless one of my parents had to use the phone. They just picked the phone on the other phone.
Yeah, get off the phone.
Hey, get off the phone. I got to use the phone. Man. And she left and she went to go stay with her cousins. And I think her mother passed away or something. I don't know. Her mother or father passed away.
Went to the cousins. It was over.
But they stayed 2 doors down from my grandmother. So when I saw her at my grandmama's house, I ended up going to the school over there because my mother and my father, they started working a whole lot. So I stayed with my grandmother for that semester, right? Man, I'm loving this girl. I'm talking about come to find out she was a cousin of one of my friends that was there. And I love this girl. Man, this girl ended up, and this was probably the first time I had my heart crushed.
JT, go on, rip the Band-Aid off.
She started
around the damn bush. Come on now.
That girl was already having sex with niggas in the hood, dog.
I know I broke your little heart.
When it wasn't like how she was when I used to walk her home. When she see me, she used to be like, hey, JT. And it was just that. And that was just like, oh, that hurt. When we got older, she got in we was in high school. She went to one high school. I went to another high school. I still, knew her and stuff like that. Man, that girl had her first child in the 9th grade, second child in the 10th grade.
JT, man, you was good. Man, you got lucky there, man.
Got very lucky with dog. When I tell you, and she turned out beautiful as hell. And
shambles.
I was like, see? Right. I was like, see, if you would have been with me, you probably would have had 1 child instead of 3. She turned out, she was cute as a kid.
Yeah.
But as a teenager, oh man, she was out cold. Yeah. And that was probably my first, that's why they call it a crush. You know what I'm saying? That's why they call it crush, because that shit it fucked with me at that time right there. But when I seen what she turned out to be, I was just like...
So I have a question there. I have a question, right? Since none of us, outside of our family members and, husbands, wives, aunts, uncles, as a unit, did y'all have any other examples to show you how to interact with a young lady? Because parents wasn't talking to you about having relationships back then. You know what I'm saying? So how did you sort of learn how to understand it? Okay,
Jason, when you're the first one off the porch, you kind of make up the rules as you go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I had a cousin. Okay.
My cousin. Well, go ahead. If you're going to say,
I'm talking about you like 12, 13,
I had a cousin.
Baby. It's something that, not the nuances of it, but the attraction between men and women is our natural. It's a natural thing between men and women.
Yeah.
Right? So we complicate it with a lot of other shit, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. So nobody really teaches you. Look at the people around you. That's why if you're in a household of people where people get married, people have relationships. I had older cousins and all that. They didn't sit down and tell me the intricacies. I just knew one female cousin had a boyfriend. My male cousins had a girlfriend or 2. Right. And I just say, well, okay, it's my turn. I'm out there. Got to go ahead and make my own way. Is any honeys around the area like me that I like? Can I pull them? Right. Can I take them to the movie? Can I do all this stuff? And it just happens naturally. Right. So there's a natural attraction between men and women that's why all this programming is so heavy to try to break that natural bond.
Right.
Because men and women, just in proximity, we do what comes natural.
Right.
That's it's like dancing. You're just gonna do what comes natural to you. And now I had now this is the thing, and I think it was more of on the point of my personality, right? I had a cousin that was just natural at, the women, they liked me, but I was shy. He wasn't, right? He was and we hung out. That was because a lot of people, that was like my best friend. But man, the way that this dude used to have girls to magnetize to him was dope as fuck. I was like, that's a magic trick. You showed me a magic, because it wasn't nothing that I could see right in front of me that he's doing. Where I'm like, well, why do they really like you like that? I started. It was his charisma.
Yeah, he just talked to him.
He was witty, right? And then he'd do it'd be corny shit.
Some corny shit.
He'd do some little corny shit, but they liked it.
Yeah, they like it.
But I was like, man, right. And so he used to test it on every female that came in his spot, man. We'd be on the bus and he'd just be like, watch this. And he'd just say something to her, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the things that I learned from him was just the whole charisma and the wittiness, right? So one of the things I used to do, and it used to always get him, I used to go, like, especially I get older, we start going to the club and stuff like that. I would sit there, me and my friends having a conversation, and there'd be some girls, we'd be in the club in a line, right? You know, when you're in a line, and I would call a girl a name that I think she is, right? It ain't even her real name. I'd be like, yeah, ask Tanisha. And she'd be looking like, did he just call? Is he talking to me? Hey, Tanisha, tell him. And she'd be like,
on, man.
Look, this is how dope it was. The girl would sit back, she'll look first, and then she'll say, why you calling me Tanisha? My name ain't Tanisha. And then I ask her friend that she's with, because, all of them got to come in at least pairs. I said, don't your girl
all by the wrong number. At least don't tell Tanisha to come in.
I'd be like, don't your girl look like a Tanisha? And she'd be like, Tanisha, and they start laughing. Next thing you know, we're engaged, right? Because she had called me, so she'd be like, oh yeah, your name Rufus. I was like, I'll be your Rufus then. She said, I'll be your Tanisha then. It was kind of like that, where I learned that from my cousin. And then that was one of those things that I used to always do. And then as I got older, it didn't work on a lot of these days. What's that? Who you call it, Tanisha? Back then, it was kind of that was kind of like the way that you engage with them. I just learned that, how do you engage? We used to always talk about that. Me and my friends used to always talk about that. Man, how we engage with these girls? All right. We're going to remember the Shy Boy on 5 Heartbeats and how guys used to do that? We've done that a lot. You know what I'm saying? I think it died probably after our generation, where guys used to have some type of persona, but it was about being witty. Crack era changed all that shit.
Crack era changed that shit.
Changed it all. Because when I start seeing these kids, and the only thing you got to say to these girls now is, do you smoke? Can I smoke with you? I'm like, that's all y'all got to say? That's it? Damn. So we had an imagination. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, with girls, we really liked them back then. Because I used to, you couldn't sleep. It be a girl that got you, you couldn't even really sleep. You thinking about what you gonna say, how you gonna do it. You done put your outfit out. You like, I'm gonna kill a ass in the morning. I done ironed this shit. You got your pants standing up in the corner. You got so much starch on them goddamn pants. They standing up in the corner, bro.
Hey, did y'all ever get a girl's number when you was younger? And then you checking the phone like the phone's out of order and shit. It's still working. She ain't called. Especially if you gave a girl your number.
Yeah, you gave me your number. And you like, damn, she ain't called me or nothing.
Damn, it's 2 days later.
Man, the feeling, this is what I'm saying. Don't they call them endorphins? That drug we used to have as kids, man, that drug is what got, man, dopamines. That shit it feels so damn good until you had sex. Now, when you had sex, the dopamines was on a whole different ball game there.
The ultimate.
But man, that dopamine that you had when you liked a girl, it was something different, man. Yo, imagine motherfuckers done we got some of our greatest tunes, dog, are written off of the inspiration of a man liking a woman.
Mm-hmm.
That was basically what it was. Those things are gone now. It's like, we understand now, because now these young men don't even want to approach women. And what did they say? Why they don't? They're so mean. But I'm like, dog, you a man. You know, nigga, you know, that's why we, as in the generation we in right now, we like, I don't really grasp what you talking about, my guy.
Remember, JT, you said something earlier.
Yes.
All y'all can attest. What is the old phrase? Sticks and stones may break my bones. Right? We all understood that. Listen, I think most people that grew up in the inner city, being talked about was a ritual. It wasn't nothing you could avoid, you know, and it wasn't to shame you. It was to make fun of it.
Yeah.
Because we could sit around and cap on each other for hours and laugh. Only thing was off limits really was your mom's. You know what I'm saying? Unless you had a little handicap sibling or something. Everything else, man.
Oh, you had a gimp, or you had a little gimp in your lip. And
you know, a crooked eye or something. But hey,
got a glass knee with Kool-Aid in it. You know,
right? Man, people didn't have no. I think people were a little bit more.
Man, we were so much
people
more
your
Teflon,
age,
man. We were so much more Teflon. We wasn't so quick to kill ourselves. It wasn't.
But you also didn't have. But we also didn't have the adults in our life telling us that we wasn't shit.
You know, that was. But they knew when not to be in our lives. They'd see us outside playing. They'd be like, "Long that motherfucker out there playing, cool." When we used to get hurt, the only thing they would do is patch you up and send you back outside.
Get you some peroxide and a Band-Aid.
Oh, that ain't nothing, boy. They had smacked the goddamn wound.
They see one of us wailing on the other one with a stick.
That's it. That's it.
But what was the remedy? What was the get along?
Exactly.
Y'all gotta figure out how to get along. That was their whole thing, and it was at a point where we used to have to think things out and think things through. Now people want somebody else to think it through for them. Yep. The shit is. That's why we have such a. It's
what
like,
do we do now?
What
do we do now?
They get stuck. The girls don't like me. You had one little girl. She looked funny too. Didn't like you. Now all girls are evil.
Bro, I remember a girl that everybody said was ugly. This girl named Kyra, right? The only thing about that little girl was that she was very dark skinned. I liked her.
She was cute.
Man, she was beautiful.
Fine as hell.
Pretty white eyes. She was dark skinned. And I just remember nobody else wanted to talk to her, only for the simple fact that she was very dark skinned, right?
Mm.
And they used to call her Kaya or some shit like that. They used to try to make fun of her and stuff like that. And I was like, I didn't see the joke in it, right? I was the one that went, and I'll sit there, and we was in school. Man, let me tell you something. That girl got in high school.
You got fine as hell.
Fine than a motherfucker.
That's what they do.
I already know.
Fine as hell.
Yeah.
Fine as hell. And I seen it. And she ended up being ruined, right? Because she was abrasive. She was ruined because she was abrasive. Because the people used to talk about her skin color, and you know what I'm saying? They used to talk about her because her hair was short and shit like that. So by the time she got to be 16 years old, she was very abrasive. She had when I tell you this girl had a body. This is when they had a lot of bow-legged women. She was one of them. You remember how that shit used to be, boy? Bow-legged.
I'm 5'4", man.
And she had hips.
Kicking my stuff about this bow-legged chicken.
And she was only 5'2". Come on, bro. You understand what I'm telling you, man? And with pretty white teeth. And got ruined. She was calling everybody bitch. And
No,
man, I was
being
like,
mean to her, man. That's why.
they were being mean to her.
Oh,
Yes.
Brillo and all type of
I knew
food.
this girl in third grade, man, since the third fucking grade, me and her, but we were always cool. We was always.
Well, JT, she needed more than one
Damn.
friend, though, man. Y'all.
Yeah, no, right. She did.
I done seen some things transpire to the point where, and it was like, I don't know, man. It was probably what my parents had taught me and things like that, where I seen some people that were innocent kids and they grew up to be just, man, life just was, it got them to be something that they didn't want. I don't think they didn't want. I got a friend right now. He just got out of prison like 3 years ago. He's a Muslim now, but my man, dog, his brother accidentally killed his sister with a gun. His mama and his father died. His father killed his mama. He stayed with his grandparents. They end up dying. And by the time he was getting ready to graduate, he was, it was a done deal. He was on his own. He was living on his own. 17 years old, he had his own crib. But he had to sell dope and all kind of shit. He ended up going to jail for, I think it was manslaughter or something like that, man. And he was in jail all during our adult life. He just recently got out, man. And no, he's not a Muslim. He's a Shriner. That's what he is now. And man, when I talked to him, and I said, damn, I remember when we was in the third grade together, man. But I saw it. You know how you can just see things transpire and you be like, I understand how he got to be here. I understand how she got to be who she is right now. That was the thing about just being in the neighborhood I used to be in. We had 22 high school, 100 and something elementary schools. Detroit is kind of close knit. You know what I'm saying?
JT,
it's a big city, but it was close knit.
JT, could you imagine going to jail, man? And everybody was using cash when you went in, and then when you get out, everybody using Bitcoin. You were like, what the hell is a damn Bitcoin?
I had a cousin.
What the hell is a cell phone? You know what I'm saying?
Right. I had a cousin that came out. He said, why is everybody looking at these? Like, everybody had these phones. My cousin got... Everybody had these phones right here. He said, I kept seeing people looking in these little boxes. He said, I didn't know that was a cell phone. I said, well, he said, man, the cell phones we had was flip phones. And this was during the time when they just like now they got all kind of shit now. Yeah.
Can you imagine?
And I can't imagine
you out here trying to swing like you used to back in the day. And nobody even used cash.
Huggy Bear, not Huggy Bear, the dude to play Anthony Fargas when he played in "I'ma Get You Sucker."
Right.
And when he went in, everybody had the platform shoes and shit like that. And he came out, he thought he was flying in the motherfucker with the aquarium shoes on, and that's how a lot of these guys, when they come out of prison, that's how they are. They wearing jabots and shit and
Coogee sweaters. Fresh out of the 90s, you know what I'm saying?
And one of the things I have to do,
rings, you know what I'm saying?
It's a multitude of things that happens with us. This is where that wisdom thing comes in too, because I can't imagine having my whole adulthood being in prison and then coming out after 15, 20 years. I can't imagine that, right? But I can understand how it gets to that point, right? And you get to talking to people and stuff like that, man, you be like, damn, this world is a lot bigger than what we give it credit for, man. Like, and I mean by our mindset. And so it gives us the gumption to have grace for a lot of people when we understand the depths of what goes on in this world. And it makes us be who we are, right? That's why you can have some men, man, it's the dopest thing in the world to have somebody to be able to talk harsh, but still have grace in their speech, or be able to, it's kind of like something that, well, you be like, why did this person talk that way? And then when you find out why they talk that way, you be like, let me slow my roll, right? Let me have a little more understanding, a little more grace. Let me stay firm, but let me, you know what I'm saying? It's a dope thing to be able to go in this world and be able to have that type of thing. So getting older, I think it's just fun to be able to accumulate and be able to take the wisdom that we've learned and apply it, because it does have a great feeling after it, especially when people are susceptible to take in the things that you say. It's a dope thing for us to be able to do that, man. That's why I love, like, when I talk to my kids, it's just dope where you can see or you can feel that they're thinking while they're having the conversation with you. That's why I talk to some random ass young folks, and they're like, man, ain't nobody trying to hear your old ass. I'll be like, yeah, you can die. I don't give a fuck about you. I guarantee this, I won't be wasting no more of my energy talking to your ass, right? I'm going to talk to someone that actually wants this. And I learned not to give unsolicited advice also.
Yeah.
Because people going to listen to you regardless, man. And when you talking, they're going to listen to you. That the people that actually wants to be able to say, hey, man, I want to get further than where I'm at right now when it comes down to my thinking.
Do y'all get do any of y'all get a chance to go on base, military base?
And do what?
And just see what the interactions are on base.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I get a chance to go to Fort Knox about every 2 or 3 weeks, right? Depends on when I need to go. I just go when I need to go, right? Mm-hmm. And I run into a lot of young soldiers. I run into a lot of young people, young early adults. But I would say between 18 and 35, 40, right? Some married, some single, whatever.
Right back.
And I always ask them about questions about women and men in relationships. A lot of them are apprehensive based off what they hear, not so much their experience. They haven't had those experiences yet, but it's a lot of the fears that have been sort of pushed on them by other people. And I think even with YouTube, this is a space that it seems to be growing, because a lot of the rhetoric that's being pushed, both sides they seem to be pushing further and further away from each other just based off not their own person. Well, some of them may have one experience and hold on to that for a long time, but a lot of them are not even having those type of experiences. They're going by what they may have heard or said, got one side of the story and ran with that. And that's, to me, when I talk to them, I just try to get them to understand that, the person that you may want may come in times in your life when you're not ready and after you've prepared for that. I can say I want a type of woman all my life, but if I'm not putting myself in that position, or, I'm making myself available in those type of spaces, then I'm just talking. I'll never run into her, and if I do, 9 times out of 10, the first time I may not even recognize it and just jeopardize the whole thing. So it's a very unique space as the show come on, the gray area. Yeah, right now we're in the gray area, especially when it comes to our survival and our socialization with each other. Because
life is kind of in the gray area, though. But you know what, you'll find that the question that you ask about how people interact with each other, I think is directly proportional to how much they use social media. Yeah. Some folks don't, like my youngest daughter doesn't use social media at all.
Mm-hmm. My son don't either.
So if I made a mistake and in real life I say deleted as opposed to kill, she said, man, you using some social media jargon. She laughed at me. She said, you can say the real word, Dad. I'm saying, and you catch yourself. But I think in relationships, some people, if you talk to the person who don't have social media, they don't understand. They might not see the dynamics of the fight that we see every day. So we got to be careful not to poison our thinking that a lot of this shit that we see, it goes on everywhere. Even though it's enough, when you see somebody with 1 million views or 1 million this, it's enough people who are going through this stuff. But there are some people kind of immune based on how much they use social media or how little they use it. So that's why I think there's always some salvation out there somewhere, because everybody ain't poisoned by what they hear, the gender war battle, stuff like that. Some folks know how to avoid it. So I mean, not know how to avoid it. So now maybe they just get lucky.
They don't make it a priority.
Right, don't make it a priority. So yeah, so there's a lot of that. I mean, I haven't been on a base in a while, man. But going shit, I was on bases for 38 years. I said no.
Trey Ferg, who you got?
I like working with the soldiers though. It was always better.
Trey Ferg, who you got on the Kentucky Derby, man?
Man, I haven't even checked out the horses yet, man. Me and my wife go get out early in the morning. We're going to visit my mom, her little burial site, because she was buried on May 3rd of when she passed. So we're going to get up and go out there. Then we're going to come back. Then I'll check out the odds, because the odds will change and shift a little bit.
Right.
And study, if anybody want to bet, see which horse runs best in the mud. Because it's going to be a muddy track.
It's going to be wet.
Some horses are bougie and they don't like all the mud and all that. Some horses love it. So
Some
find
like
out.
front runners, you know what I'm saying?
Find out who's
Are you betting, Coach?
Yeah, I'm gonna do my little $20 ritual, man. I'll spread that little 20 out, 5 here. I always go win, play, show.
You gonna play your little Exacto, little win, play.
Yeah, I'm gonna win, play, show. Yeah, do a little box. I'll hit a couple times, $300-$400. I ain't putting number like $2-$3 on there.
Man, I'm going for damn super factor. I'm trying to
get man, that's just funny as hell, man. I'm a race.
Yeah, just see who likes to run in the mud, man.
I used to watch the races, but they used to have like 8 hours of programming for a 15
They still got it. Local TV still have it. They're going to be up at 7:30 in the morning watching that shit.
They're going to have TVG on and everything, man.
Yeah, it's all day. Everybody got their hats. It's all day. All day. I went to the parade on Sunday. They had a big parade, the Derby parade on Sunday. It used to be on Thursday before, but now they switched it to Sunday. And it's cool. I get to see old friends and hang out for a couple of hours and stuff like that.
So are you actually going to the track?
I never go to the track, man. I grew up. When I was growing up, I was living in walking distance because it's right in the middle of town, and the area ain't the most upscale area. It's just regular people. And man,
where you at, Louisville?
Yeah, I'm close.
Mm-hmm. Here we go. These horses. So in case y'all didn't see it, it looks like the favorite is Journalism 3-1.
Yeah.
Followed by Sandman 6-1 and Solid 5-1.
Now I would go with that. I would go with that trifecta loss. I would do a box on that trifecta right there. Those three right there, I would box it up.
No.
So if any of them come in,
you see that Journalism that's 3-1. I wouldn't even put that on my ticket. I would run with. No, I would run with Sovereignty, Sandman. I grab some of this 7, which is 7-1, and some of this 12-1.
Yeah, you're right. 15-1, number 7.
If you run Journalism on any of those tickets, and if it hit, they ain't gonna pay nothing. So what you do is you try to take something that's got a little bit of odds on it and put it in there, because these 30-1 shots ain't coming, man.
Yeah, I'd have to have a trifecta with 3 30-1s on there, man. You know, I got shit, man. Take my $20, man. I don't care.
Leave that up, man. Let me take a picture of that.
Yeah, I can't even lie to y'all. I don't even know what the fuck y'all talking about, man.
Trifecta, man, the super factor, man.
I would love, but that's
kind of smart though. But here's the thing: this is what I would do. I would play a horse second and third, and then throw some trash at the top. All the 30-1s you can stand.
But those 12-1s, they like 21. Those odds usually win. That 12-1, 15-1.
Exactly.
And what's that other one? The 6. Yeah, those are the ones that usually are winning.
About the horse races, JT.
Yeah, you build.
I know y'all talking about the horse
trash at the top. Or you run your all on the top.
7, 9, horses. 21.
Run your all on top.
You never bet on horses, JT?
Yeah, I did dog races. I've never did horse races, man.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Same style.
Yeah, and even with dog races, my brother, because he's just a gambler, so I'll follow it, whatever it is that he showed me, man. But yeah, what y'all talking about right there, that's some shit where, because I don't know anything about it, That's some shit that I just get indulged in, and things like that. Like my father knew. You know, my father knew about that, and
Yeah, I think I'm gonna get my little list together. I'll
but
see
he was
about
also
4
a
coming
gambler.
Yeah,
Him, my brother.
I'm telling you, man, you might want to leave journalism off your ticket if you want to get paid.
No, I'm gonna put him in there for the trifecta, not
Put him
just
in
solo.
there, man. Put him
So
in
what
there.
is a 1 to 3? What is a 1 to 3 versus a 2 to 1?
I ain't no 1 to 3s on here, buddy. If it
3
was,
to
you
1.
3
Okay,
to 1. 3 to 1.
1.
Journalism is a 3 to 1. What is that? He
3-1
won
odds
3.
that they'll win. 3-1 odds that
Oh,
they'll
okay.
win.
These are the
You put down
odds.
$3
Okay.
to make a buck. You got to put down $3 to make a buck.
Okay, I got you. Okay.
Is that right? Is that how that goes?
Well,
know,
each,
actually,
yeah,
if you bet $1, you win 3. That's what that is.
Okay, there you go.
One gets
and the
Oh.
lowest you can, but however, the lowest you can bet is $2. Though.
right.
That's why motherfuckers was losing their goddamn family.
Trying to win a lick. You know what I'm saying?
All about the pole
Damn, you
position
put
too.
$1 and you win 20?
So
Yeah.
the pole position
God
and which
damn.
is 2 things that are critical in this race: the pole position and which horse likes to run in the mud. You gotta, if you can find
Motherfucker.
out which horse like that run in the
Who's the
mud.
pole
Wait,
position?
this is how motherfuckers get. This is the real money then.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this would be real money right
This
here.
is the real money because I'm looking at what y'all talking about. I know a little bit about gambling, and shit. And I'm talking about dudes
Hold
be
on,
put
dude.
like $1,000 on the goddamn horse.
You
Yeah,
don't do that. That's crazy.
yeah. Unless you got that type
This
of
is
money.
this rich motherfuckers. This
It's
rich
a guy that
motherfuckers.
bet 1,000 today on the
Yeah,
horse that won.
yeah,
on the
this
Oaks.
rich motherfuckers. I'm talking about rich motherfuckers that do it. I've never myself. I've never even. Damn, y'all
They
might
actually
make.
start the race with 21 horses.
Yeah, it 1 or 2 may get scratched, but if none of them get scratched, then
Track, man. That's a
you look at the
And
track
all
is big enough. The
And
track
all
is
the
big
jockeys
enough.
is 5 feet tall
98 pounds.
and 98 pounds. It's like having a feather on that motherfucker. It's
But I'm
God
excited though,
damn.
man. This is the fastest 2 minutes in sports. Everybody and their mama will be here. The weather is about 60-70% rain. The race started like 6. So
How far are you from Nashville?
165, about 2.5 hours.
Okay, so I gotta pass you up to go because my daughter, she stays in Nashville. And-
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm going
Yeah.
out that way for Memorial Day time. I'm going.
And she,
Little
man,
cabin
I
out
was
there.
thinking that she was going after she graduated from college. I thought she was going to bring her ass back to Michigan. She said, "Y'all can kiss my ass over there in Michigan. I visit."
Think
And
about
I
Nashville.
But I
Look,
understand. I understand.
tell her
why
Nashville
now.
tell her Nashville has quite a few ice storms. They have
Nah,
ice
I ain't got
storms.
to, man. I ain't got to tell my daughter shit. She been there for 10 years, bro. My daughter graduated
okay, she
5 years
know.
ago. Yeah, she already
She
know.
know
That's why
about
she
that
ain't
ice.
came back.
Yeah, it's
She's
good
like-
weather, man.
Right,
Ice.
she's like, I'll come visit you.
I heard Nashville's pretty. I mean, I've been
Yeah.
to Nashville.
Man, I've
It's-
been
it's growing.
downtown.
It's growing.
Hey, Payne, I've been downtown. I went there, especially like now. I'm getting ready to go down there. Like I told you, I'm about to go down there for my grandbaby's graduate. It is funny as hell because I do shit. My daughter and them, they just get me to do anything. He graduating kindergarten.
Jeez.
It ain't just me. We got the family coming down. We like this nigga about to graduate from damn college. Is that my daughter has always been like that, but it's not about that. It's just about because they love to have
Family just need
family.
to get together, man.
Yeah, man. When we get together, it's funny as hell. Everybody is doing shit. You know, we all in the same spot. We doing a Airbnb right now. But man, even with my youngest daughter, we went to Louisiana, man. And when the family got there, and it's funny because I consider my ex-wife, her family has always been my family from the time that we got married. You know what I'm saying? Before we got married, you know, we were 15 years old when we met each other. And her cousins, her brothers, everybody has been my friends since then. Even when we got a divorce, and we was still, you know, frolicking and mingling with each other's family. And so that's like when we look at each other now, we like, we just family. That's me and you family, because we ain't never been out of each other's life. So now
when you have kids, man,
it's something different, man. But I don't even think it's just the kids, because it was 2 years before we had our first daughter, right? It just got to the point where it was just like, I don't know how to even explain it, man. It's just like we just been family, right? Just been family. And we didn't stay in the same city. She stayed in a city. She stayed like 30 minutes away, 33 minutes away from where I stay at or whatever. But I think it just got to a point where we understood that we have to do was greater, you know, for the greater good. And we had kids together. We were married for 10 years. And it just got to a point where I think I was the one that had to get to the point where I was just like, I can't fight this shit. Because I was dating all kind of women and shit like that. They be like, well, why is your ex-wife right? We got kids together, goddammit. It was the make or break of the relationships that I had. Where I was just like, she kind of like family. That's just what it is. And I don't know if I used to think back in the day that it was something wrong with me, but
no, it's something wrong.
Talking to you guys, talking to y'all, man, talking to y'all, having these years of talking to my brothers like y'all or whatever, I said I'm doing the right thing, right? It kind of confirmed what I was already doing, but I didn't have anybody that was actually saying, nah, nigga, that's how that shit's supposed to go. Being a man, we just got principles, bro. We can't break
1 2
those. Yeah, I got you.
We hear
you. We got principles though, bro, and that's one of the things I learned about myself. The strengths that I learned about myself was that I just got certain principles, dog. I would never let go. And I don't even like the whole thing of what's a good man. What the fuck you mean what's a good man? I'm a fucking man. I got flaws and everything. But what makes me, I don't know, y'all probably can help me with that one. Other than saying a good man, because that shit can mean.
Who came up with that? Who come up with that? What's a good man? That's what the chicks say, right?
That shit, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It sounds simpish.
JT, think about it. They only say that when that man's in servitude to them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, so that's how they define a good man. If you're in service to me.
So how will we?
I got 18 children by 19 different men. But he's a good man because
he's a good husband, right? He's a good father, but he's not a good husband. What the fuck are we talking about? I don't, man. And listen, for all the women that's listening, I don't mean no harm, but I don't listen to nothing y'all talking about when y'all talk about that type of shit right there.
You know what they say to you, JT? Now you probably figured out because we haven't listened to you motherfuckers for 70 years,
right?
She said, you just figuring that out. Man. We haven't listened to y'all in a long time, man.
No, but y'all kind of confirmed a lot of things that I was already feeling. I'm talking about, bro, 4 years ago, just being in this space right here, because in my life outside of social media and things like that, man, I just had too many motherfucking men that were like simps. They didn't have anything that was clear, right? They didn't have any message that was clear. And my shit be clear as shit, man. And I be hurting people's feelings sometimes when I talk. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was something that was wrong with me, but especially you, Payne, when I heard your ass speak, I was like, I'm good. I'm good. But then I see you are what we would consider to be a benevolent man, right? That like hearing you speak, man, I'd be like, you be trying to find reason. Then when it ain't no reason, you be like, wait a motherfucking minute. Wait a goddamn minute. And right? And I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. Cause you stand on certain principles, man. You like, I'm not about to I'm not about to trade this shit off for anything. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like that type of thing. And
Yeah, I guess so.
yeah, my
And
father was like,
sometimes you be wrong, but you can say, listen, man, sometimes it's all right to be wrong. You know? Shit.
and you're fine with that because guess what you can do? You can sit back and say, I apologize, right? Yeah, I apologize. I didn't, it's kind of like, I think that's the thing about teaching young men how to be into their manhood. I hate what I see with these young men now. They would sit back and they would start out good. And then next thing you know, somebody would say something to them and it'll make them kowtow because they don't want to, I don't want to offend anybody. At some point, man, you got to sit back and say, listen, it's not my job if you get offended to try to make you unoffended. I'm just going to tell you exactly this is how it is right now. And this is how I see things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I took the whole this is how I feel thing out of my fucking lexicon, dog. That feel shit, nope. Because it opens the door for a lot of things. This is how I feel. Well, I feel like this. I'm not that guy. This is how I see things. This is how things is to me. We can have the conversation about it, and then we can hopefully we can exact some things. If it ain't gonna get to that point right there, you'd be like, all right, man, we'll just go back to the old cliche. Let's agree to disagree.
So the Derby's tomorrow? Today, I guess.
Yeah,
Is it Sunday or Saturday? It's Saturday, right?
Yeah, it's Saturday.
Yeah.
Trey Ferg, I'm rolling with 18, man. Sovereignty.
You already
Insane,
put your bet in?
Not yet. I'm rolling with the 17 and the 18 on my ticket.
Okay, who gonna be your third one?
My wheel is gonna be the let me see. My wheel is gonna be
21 to be good.
the 17, but I'm gonna put the 18 on there. I'm gonna put Final Gambit on there, which is a 3. And I'm probably gonna put in Publisher because it's like journalism. I'm gonna throw that one in the 13.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
So you going with a 30-1 odds?
Yeah, man. I gotta put them on there, man.
Okay.
So how do you guys bet now?
I'm running a trifecta wheel. I got a ticket with the 17 first, second, and third, along with Publisher, Final Gambit. Yeah. I need one more. Let me put this Tis-tastic in there, number 14. I'm gonna throw that in there, man.
So you're doing this, could do this online, or you have to
you can do it
online.
I'm going to the actual little betting place. We got one. They built a new one down
You
there.
used to have off Jack betting over here in the East Side, and I knew New York, they closed them all down.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be a bunch of double digits that's gonna come.
Are you gonna box your bets? You gonna box them?
I'm using a wheel. I'm using the trifecta wheel.
Oh, okay. I just box them. So if any of the 3 that I choose come in first, second, or third,
I get more coverage with less money when I run a wheel.
Yeah. Okay. Everybody's different. I only go $20 in, man. I'm gonna spread that $20 around like a pie.
No.
I'm gonna be talking that same shit y'all talking next year.
Mine out. My superfecta gonna have a whole bunch of foolishness, man.
Okay.
I'm gonna run it.
Let's put some money down on there, man.
Yeah, I can see he's all in about 200. He gonna have 200 going over.
I'm running 17, second and third, and I'm putting the rest of this junk up in there. I'm throwing all the shots at the top. You know what I'm saying? I'm taking this 12-1, and I'm gonna put him come 4th place. Where you at? Where my 12-1 at? Oh yeah, number 21.
21.
Yeah.
Hey, if y'all take 3 of those 30-1s and put $2 on it, man, y'all might come out with a couple of hundred.
The funny thing is, I can see why betting on the horses make the race itself a whole lot more exciting.
Yeah.
Just watching that damn thing for 2 minutes. You know what I'm saying, man? I gotta have some money on this shit just so I can be, I can bear it on.
Come on,
Yeah.
see.
They're gonna be racing early. They're gonna be start racing. I think they start betting and racing about 9 in the morning.
Any of you fellas
There's a
play
whole
golf?
There's a whole bunch of
Yeah, I
different
play.
races going on, right?
Yeah. You got the Kentucky Oaks and stuff like that. I think they ran.
Yeah, that was today.
Yeah.
The Oaks was today.
Did it pay?
Yeah, man. Somebody he bet 1,000. I don't know how much he won, but there was a few winners that they was talking to, standing there waiting on them to cash in their ticket. But
They were
it's
standing in the special line.
it's a good feeling when you go up there and they be like, "Oh, you won 500." Be like, "Appreciate you."
Right.
Trey, you hit what you do? 9, 18? What you do? How many holes you do? No.
Man, always 18, man. I'm gonna tell you a trick. I don't know if they got it in your state, but
Man, we golf like crazy
You
over
on
here.
a 10 cent, 20
Yeah,
cent Vector.
no. I'm just putting. I'm gonna put $5 on my trifecta and everything else gonna be
all
$2.
on for like $2.40.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you ain't
They
gonna
got
get
me a
the
little
whole
home.
pot though, you know. So
Yeah. Hopefully I hit something, man. I'm just gonna see who can run in that mud tomorrow, man. That 1.25 miles ain't no joke. Cause some horses, when they leading up to the Derby, they running a mile, so they good. But
right.
that little last quarter changes the game, and it gets longer as the 3 races continue to what the Belmont Stakes and I forget the third one, but the track gets longer. So
I forgot to see who the jockeys is too, man.
yeah, see,
that
I
makes-
ain't
I
studied.
ain't looking at them
They're gonna
jockeys.
fuck around and get you a little fat jockey,
Hey man,
I don't need no fat
a
jockey.
little frumpy jockey.
Hey, I don't need no
Nah,
fat
they-
jockey.
Bob Baffert is back. Bob Baffert got 2
He's trying to
horses.
let him
In.
back, man.
Yeah, he was suspended 3 years.
Yeah, I
so
know,
he's
man.
back.
what happened with him?
He got
Man,
suspended, man.
they be
Dope
putting them drugs in them horses, man.
Okay. Them tranquilizers.
That
They be
track,
putting-
horse come to the track, eyes be big as pop.
yeah.
Come on, hurry up, hit it.
It's something that they put in their nostrils. They put something to make.
Don't be like, bro, hit it. Come on.
The asshole, man. What's that?
I'm ready to run.
Horse be ready to go.
He wasn't there for life for that shit. Yeah, that's funny.
Horse for 300 for that
Yeah,
horse.
it was a band,
They got
something.
that horse
they-
like,
500
nigga,
horsepower.
my engines. Hey, listen, man, I got fire in me now. Come on now, let's go.
He got flames shooting out of the
You
back.
got flame. Come on. I got a boo boo. Come on.
That pocket. Give me my special mix. Give me my special mix.
Right, there it
real.
is.
My feet
I'm
out of
just
this.
scratching his goddamn arm and shit. Come on.
Hey,
Shit.
Bob Baffer, like, feed him out of this bag.
Yep, that's
Not
it.
that one. This one right here.
Everybody, their mama be here, man, all day, man. Streets be blocked off. That's why I'm gonna get out early.
Yeah, man.
They block off
Horse
streets and
Horse
everything.
around the track with an 8-ball. in his mouth.
It's real close to the airport too, man. It's probably like 3 minutes from the airport, so
Yeah.
they make it convenient for people to sort of get in and out.
Well, gentlemen, I am gonna go hit the head.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
The elder abuse that you guys. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, look, you done
Don't let
had
me
a
go to
good.
bed.
You done had a good win for 2 weeks, man. You been over there destroying them panels.
Man, our pain undefeated now.
You're undefeated right now, man. Shit, ain't nobody fucking with him.
Power level on 9,000. You know what I'm saying?
What can I say, man?
Hey,
Just let it all hang out, man.
our pain was going on
What's
on
up,
panels.
Cheapo?
Hey, what's up, girly girl? L Pain. Hey, our pain was going on them panels, silencing the hell out of their ass, boy.
Our pain was hitting with the silence of the
Hitting
double.
him, man. He was hitting them with it, boy. quick and fast. And they was just like, I ain't got
I
nothing to
need
say
some
about
theme
that.
music, man. Mission Impossible. Dun, dun, dun,
Okay. All right, gentlemen, let me get out of here.
All right, brother.
Y'all know how to close it down, right?
Yeah, man. We better shut it down now, man.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
I'll see y'all later, man. Good night, fellas.
Yes,
be
sir.
good.
All right, Payne. You take it easy,
out.
bro.